Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Thursday Discord live chat stream. I wasn't going to do this because I did the press conference stream earlier, but got an energy drink in me, got a beer in me, and now I kind of feel like doing it. So, and it looks like we actually have some people here with us in the Discord chat, so if you'd like to join us, go ahead and use the link that I post in chat. There's also one right there in the description. And if you guys want to join us, you're more than welcome to. I think tonight we're just going to talk about, we'll talk a little bit about the press conference. I'm not sure how many of you watched it, but it was embarrassing for Biden. There's plenty to unpack on what he said, and it's going to come down to people like us to talk about it and unpack it, because you know the mass media is just going to be running cover for him. I want to talk a little bit about that. We're going to talk about the Second Amendment, how it's under assault right along with the First Amendment, what that means for the country. Obviously not good things. First and Second Amendment, without a doubt, the most important amendments to uphold the Constitution and the America that we know, and those are the two amendments that are, under most threat. So we're going to talk about that. Let's see, we got 18 people here. Yeah, that's fine, whatever. So I'm going to go ahead and just go right into Discord. It looks like nobody is brave enough to bring themselves up on video. Hopefully some will eventually do that. I'm looking at you, Aaron, Bell, and Foxy. You guys usually are on camera. So we're going to go ahead and cut into these folks, and we'll get right down to the discussion. Guys, you guys there? I know. You guys... Oh yeah, I guess. No, I'm coming back on somebody's. You need to have headphones, Bell. No, I can't hear you. No, I can hear you. I don't hear myself. Okay, so guys, you can't hear them. Hold on, they say they can't hear you. Oh. No, I got you guys. All right, they're in here now. Woo! All right. I thought for once I had it all without screwing it up, but no. But now we should be good. You guys should hear everybody. Say something, guys.
Hello.
Test, test, test.
Yeah, you should. You guys should hear them now. All right. So, did you guys all watch the press conference today?
Sadly.
Yeah.
I did not watch too much of it.
I need to remember to like mark down time codes for when he does and says stupid shit, because then you forget to do that. Then you got to go back and rewatch it all if you want to edit down.
That would have been one giant timestamp, because there was not a lot of crazy moments in that. I mean, It was bad. It was a bad look from start to finish.
It was slow and slow and slow and slow.
Yeah. He was putting me to sleep.
Yeah, I got out of class and I watched it, and he's just repeating everything and contradicting everything he said.
Yeah, let me give a good example of that. So he said when they were talking about he was talking about everybody coming, but they're sending everybody back. Kept talking about sending everybody back, and at one point he said Mexico should take them all back, talking about the migrant families, and yet. The whole reason that they're not there in the first place, he wants them to take them back, and yet if he'd have kept Trump's policy in place, they wouldn't have left. They would have been there the whole time, right?
And he also say something about, well, you can't leave them sitting in Mexico on the riverbanks.
Starving.
So starving. So that was a contradiction in and of itself. I mean, it was like a poorly written play. It was not a genuine press conference. And the worst though to me wasn't even what he said. It was that one horrible woman from PBS going, "You're so moral and good and wonderful that's why they're coming. They just like he's Jesus Christ, and they're running across the border so they can wash his feet."
And he's like, "Oh shucks."
That was disgusting.
No, they're running across the border because they know that America's vulnerable.
Yamanchi, I find particularly obnoxious because one, she's public broadcasting, which means she's paid in part through our tax dollars, and yet she is just an open activist. And that actually brings me to something else I want to talk about, and I'd love if we got some left-wingers in here, or some liberals, Democrats, whatever. But over and over again, the media, these people in the Oh, and by the way, I did predict that he would not call on Peter Doocy, which he never did. But you notice they kept talking about voting rights, and then they started comparing it to Jim Crow, which is something the media has been doing. Like, what are they talking about? Like, mostly what they're talking about is voter ID, and how is that like Jim Crow, and how does that take away anybody's voting rights? And it just makes me sick because the media, instead of scrutinizing those claims, they've just like adopted it. You know what I mean? And like, it's BS, and yet the media they all adopt. Oh, well, yes.
This would be the Democratic answer. The media said so, so it's true.
Right. But like, what voting rights? Well, like, who is losing voting rights? I don't. How are the Republicans?
I think you're looking at it logically. Like, there's really no problem, but they're going to repeat the lie, and they're starting to say some dangerous things. The part where he said to, like, will there even be a Republican Party?
Oh yeah.
Why would we need it to?
Oh yeah, that freaked me out. I was like, oh God, no.
That was him basically telegraphing. Not only do we not need to do anything remotely resembling election integrity, but we don't really need a two parties. And it was the same messaging throughout, because he also messaged that when he said, you know what, I'm happy to work with Republicans as long as they do what they're told, not when they're fighting us. And he equated fighting, basically he equated
basically fighting to him
with treason. Yeah, but but you're not allowed to disagree with him. You're not. If you're anti-Biden, you're anti-American.
So we are dealing with a dictator right now. And the Democratic Party is a dictatorship party right now. Because one of the fine lines in it is he's trying to push this bill which allows the police to go in and raid your house for guns. Regardless of whether you're guilty or innocent.
It's a peaceful dictatorship. It's fine. It's peaceful.
Peaceful dictatorship. But throughout history, dictators all had this one thing in common. They try to silence the people through government means by the police. That's one of the first steps. Like when you get to the actual steps in dictatorship takeover. And the communists did it. Germans in World War II did it, especially to a minority group. So we are experiencing the same thing that they experienced. If this law passed, if the government and if the Senate and House of Representatives, because they do have the means to push it right now, but will the police themselves enforce this law?
Well, because if they don't, they'll replace them with government police, because there's already been precursors to that too. And that's straight out of we look at Hitler and Orwell as cautionary tales. The Democrats are looking at them as instructions. This is how you subjugate a population. This is how you pass, things that are. This is how you basically eliminate democracy. This is how you crush dissent.
Greg Ledbetter, real quick. Sorry to interrupt you there, Foxy. I just want to read. Greg Ledbetter in the chat said, "Kiss the filibuster goodbye. Hope that one comes back to haunt them." And Greg, it absolutely will. But we all know what'll happen. They'll just change the rules again. The media, everybody will shift to change the narrative, and suddenly, because you notice that Biden kept talking about how damaging the filibuster is, and they said, "Oh, it's a relic of the Jim Crow era." Don't you just love how that gets thrown out now for everything? Everything's Jim Crow, and yet the Democrats have used filibuster to pass policy like over and over. So, it was different when they did it, I'm sure. But just to answer your question,
Biden's been in the Senate for 120 years, right?
Right. Oh yeah, I caught that one too. Yeah, he's like, yeah, ever since I was in the Senate 120 years ago. Yeah.
Yep, 120 years ago.
Yeah. But and another thing Biden was doing, he kept talking about, I want to bring people together in unity. And then my political opposition is the return to Jim Crow. Like in the same sentence, It's just insane.
I also gave Abraham Lincoln a high five.
So it comes down to whether we comply or when is enough as Americans.
Well, I mean, we got to at least go out and protest and stuff. I mean, I know, like, that's not our thing, but, like, we got to do something to go out. And the thing that sucks about it is we all know what'll happen if we protest. We'll just be painted as Nazis or whatever, and,
Even if we paint posters full of saying that the Democratic Party is a Nazi dictatorship, Biden is a Nazi dictator. Even if we paint those labels, they will try to put us as the label.
Right. Well, we live in a country where black on Asian violence is painted as white supremacy, so anything goes apparently.
Oh man. it's troubling to see my brothers and sisters. I mean, I consider everyone like, but saying my own blood, like where I'm coming from, it's troubling to see that they're falling for the same traps that the communist regime has set up to take over the countries. And same with the Nazi regime. The Nazi regime is probably really similar to how America is because they use the emotions of the people to fuel their agenda. Whereas the communist is more of they were against the actual system itself and against money and against the proletariat and all that. But more people in America are moved emotionally. They think on emotion. They've been trained to think on the heart or and anything else. But then when you try to think logically, there's no logic in anything in here. And
honestly, rather than comparisons to Germany, I think a more apt comparison for where the United States is right now is mid-90s South Africa.
the apartheid.
No, after
no?
after apartheid ended with ANC just getting power.
So I don't know much. Go ahead.
Well, no, I just wanted to say what you just said about logic and reason, like kind of going out the door, and that's why you see things like in the Smithsonian, where they talked about white culture and white supremacy. Part of that is objective, rational, linear thinking, emphasis on the scientific method, cause and effect relationship. Things like that. Things that might lead a person to realize that this is all bullshit. So that's bad. We got to get rid of that. And so that's definitely happening. And it is disturbing that more people don't see through it. It's so obvious what it is, right? I think.
Because people think, oh, people are sad, people are getting hurt and stuff, and they don't think logically. They don't even look ahead of that. They just see, oh, people are being hurt. That means that something's wrong. They immediately think that there's something wrong based off of if someone's hurt and not based off of what's actually going on and why is it happening.
I think it's more pernicious than that. I think they're trying to do, I guess I see more of a parallel with Germany. They're trying to dehumanize the people they want to eliminate. They're trying to erase history because the idea of history and faith being strength, and the idea that if you push it hard enough on emotion and making people feel righteous, that's how you get people to do horrible, horrible things. Make them feel good about it. You can have somebody, basically rat on their neighbor, kill their neighbor, send their neighbor off to a concentration camp. If you convince them their neighbor is less than human, and the way they talk about particularly white men, less than human. They talk.
Oh, yeah.
They're evil. They're intrinsically evil. They're responsible for everything bad that ever happened to anybody. Now that's objectively not true. That is like objectively something that you can say is demonstrably false. But they'll tear down as many statues as they need to, and they'll pump people full of as much emotion and fear and then self-righteousness as they need to get you to do things that no human being would think they would normally do. I mean, nobody who was in Nazi Germany thought they were on the wrong side of history. Everybody thinks they're a good guy.
Yep.
No matter how horrible the thing they're doing, because somebody at some point managed to convince them. I mean, it's the same mentality that gets people to, fly planes into buildings. If you believe the evil thing you're doing is actually good, you become a very powerful weapon.
Righteous and moral.
Yes. They want you to feel righteous and moral when you are murdering your neighbor. They want you to feel righteous and moral when you're ratting your neighbor out. They want you to feel righteous and moral about doing horrible, horrible things.
Right. Which is why you see them get on and they repeat Jim Crow and white supremacy and those things over and over and over and over again to plant that seed in the minds for generations that opposing us means you're this monster. And what you're talking about, white men and dehumanizing, I mean, that's been going on for decades, just like in TV commercials. And there are whole channels on Twitter and YouTube dedicated to tracking these commercials, but it's insane. It's always the same thing. It's like white men are always portrayed as bumbling morons, and something you'll see all the time is white man does something stupid, people enlightened people of color look on in disgust and horror. And that's a trope you see over and over, and it may seem harmless enough, but when you realize that this is going on over decades and it's it's basically training people to think that that's real, you know.
Dronetek, what I
Education
find
system is presenting a version of history that never happened.
what's
Good.
so fascinating about today's press conference, which you have highlighted in your, I guess your commentary over it, was the types of questions that were coming from the press.
Oh yeah.
And what's fascinating is that it's not completely obvious that the questions to Biden are all about how do we promote your agenda and how can
Exactly.
you accomplish your agenda. And when Trump is being questioned by the press, it's always confrontational and in opposition to his policy prescriptions.
Right.
And it's bizarre that I guess it's not bizarre because the media covers itself as well, and their questioning is always like the Republicans are always painted as the opposition. How do we overcome the opposition? And when a Republican's in power, it's always like, here are the critiques and the criticisms of your policies, and explain yourself and defend yourself. But with Democrats, it's like, here are the critiques of the opposition. How will you overcome the opposition? And it's baffling that, like, that's not completely obvious to everyone, and that's not an item of discussion that people can, criticize the media over. The media is not doing its job. I mean, being critical and oppositional to power is fine as long as it's applied. But
Steve, you're coming through smoke, Steve.
He's vacuuming.
Oh yeah. I mean, yeah. Yeah, Richard, you're absolutely right, man, and that is something that they do, and I pointed that out, like you said. What they'll do is, right, when it's Biden, it's always questions from the left, and they always just sort of act like Biden's policy, what he wants to do, that's the default. That's like the default good position, and there's no need to question or scrutinize it. But then when it's Trump, like, they're digging into everything, getting the facts, getting the data, and we're going to confront, and democracy dies in darkness. It is. It's insane. And you would think people would see through it at this point because it's so, like, in your face. But human beings are weird, man. Like, people will fool themselves into believing things and rationalize things, and you just hear you get patted on the back so often for having this position, and you get that dopamine rush, and you just start to believe that anybody who could possibly oppose you must be some sort of a monster. So that's where we're at now. That's just, I don't know how we get out of that either. I don't know how we get out of it.
A funny trick that they like to play is that they'll say critics say, and they'll present a criticism. But really, that's them criticizing it.
Right.
It's just a way of them criticizing it, and they'll just attribute it to unknown critics. But they don't do that with Biden. They never bring up what critics will say.
Yeah.
It's just a weird little tactic that they use to appear as if they're not biased.
Right. And they do. I've seen that a lot recently. Like if someone on the right really gets somebody good on the left, like calls them out on hypocrisy or something like that. Like I just saw one with Tucker Carlson calling out somebody and was dead on right. But all the articles,
they're mansplaining.
Huh?
They're mansplaining. That's what they'll say. They'll say they're wrong. Here's one study out of 100 that says this.
Well, no. What they'll do is instead of calling out what Tucker called out, the article will be like, Tucker gets clapped back after saying this about so and so, and so the story ends up being about Tucker and making it seem like Tucker was wrong for calling this person out in the first place. They did the same thing with Candace and her thing recently with the Democrat and the KKK thing. All the articles are like, Candace Owens gets called out and has a problem with the Democrat. They spin it so that it's like somehow Candace, or another common one is Republicans pounce. When Democrats do something bad, Republicans call them out on it. All the stories are about Republicans pouncing. Yeah. And so it's like the story becomes like, oh, how dare they say this? So, and it's always the way it is. And you would think that people would see this pattern, but they don't. I don't know.
But it's not even enough because it's become more insidious. They're also trying to eliminate the voices that are effective, like Tucker Carlson. alternate platforms
I gotta
spring up, they have gotten very heavy-handed about basically saying those people should be eliminated. Their voices should be taken away, which is so, to me, that's what should chill people. I don't care what party
And
you're on.
they
That
feel
should scare the hell
self-righteous
out of
about it.
everybody.
They feel self-righteous about it as well.
I think
So
it's self-righteousness and fear.
I had a very liberal leftist friend, and I asked her this simple question after we debated: "Is would you care if I died due to my beliefs that your party is pushing?" She couldn't answer that question. So I basically asked her do you care if people like me who are free thinkers who question everything that both parties have put out and call out it for what it is, do you care that AOC and a lot of other Democrats and heavy leftist Democrats are basically calling for us to go into re-education camps or getting locked up due to our beliefs? And do you care if my life was threatened as a minority, like you claim that you care? She couldn't answer the question. They, when it comes down to it, like you guys have said, they believe when you believe sincerely that the other party is evil and that you do good, anything that you do towards them, they aren't humans in your eyes.
Right.
So you will do whatever you want to them, and again, it goes down to, are you okay with China committing mass genocide on the Muslim Uyghurs? Like, they believe in a certain religion, but I do believe everyone has religious freedoms. They should have religious freedoms, but if you are going to slaughter a minority just because they believe in something, and you're slaughtering them in droves and putting them in camps, that's a human right violation. And it's not being approached. They don't want to talk about it, and
It's not even like they talked about China's. They didn't talk about China's either. They don't. They actually think it's okay.
Yeah, and I want to pat my own back again a little bit on this because to that point, because I did predict, and maybe there were other people predicting it. I feel like I was one of the first, but that they would start claiming that the media and Democrats would start claiming that criticism of China is in itself racist and causing backlash on the American Asian community. And sure enough, man, that's out there now. Chuck Todd said it, and somebody else said it. I saw another article. So that's dribbling out there, and guarantee it. You can guarantee, like, that's coming. That Republicans who speak out against China will be blamed for Asian American attacks.
And here is the issue. China, throughout its history, if you study Chinese history, not from a Chinese point of view, but from other Asian point of views, China has tried to conquer South Korea and North Korea for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
They tried to conquer Southeast Asia. They tried to conquer Japan, and look what they did. You see, there's so much animosity between North and South Koreans and Japanese and Chinese and all that. Why do they have that? Because there's a historical point, especially for Chinese or other cultures, because now Chinese are gonna think about this thing like, oh, you are like our culture. We influence. So we should be able to colonize you guys. We should be able to go in and conquer your lands because you are our culture. So they're gonna manifest destiny. Chinese manifest destiny. It's gonna come.
Yeah,
well,
Chinese.
Hong Kong's already experiencing it. So
what did Biden say? What did Biden say today about that? That he couldn't criticize China's competitive goals, which include the destruction of the U.S. and taking over. And Biden even mentioned that they want to be the leader.
Yeah, he did.
He's like, oh, I can't criticize that. He's such a damn puppet of China.
He said this: I can't criticize them, but then we should help them achieve their goals. I believe I heard that.
Probably because they gave him money, so he could criticize them.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong. What I heard from that press conference was that he said that we shouldn't criticize China, but we should also help them to achieve their goals, basically.
Yeah.
So, in that sense, what kind of world leader would say that your own country, that we don't mean shit to you, but then the other country means shit to you? Like, you rather promote your other country that you weren't even born in versus the country that you were born in. That sounds treasonous.
That's not a hard attitude to find on the left. You have a lot of people who hate America. Like, it's the worst place. They talk about this country, like, and I always wonder, like, why are you still here? You're literally not, like, obligated to stay.
So if they hate America so much, why is people trying to push to come to America and try to immigrate to America?
But that's the selective. They have a very selective way of looking at the world. Their moral compasses turn off and on based on the situation. You know, white men are evil and misogyny and trans rights, and those are the same people who defend Islam when a lot of Muslim countries are slaughtering people who are in the LGBT community, who allow no diversity, but somehow we're like, but yet they'll say like we're the greatest evil there is. And the idea that people are fighting to come here to this horrible racist oppressive country where there is no justice and voters aren't allowed to vote if they're the wrong color, and they have this like this view of America as this dystopian nightmare. And they have this way of looking at the world where everybody else gets a pass based on things like Biden said, well, culturally.
How can we
Culturally,
Yeah.
culturally, China
Culturally,
can
that's
commit
okay.
genocide.
But our culture at the same time, our culture, which has raised more people out of poverty, which has eliminated the class system, that has basically rewarded people for innovation. Our culture is somehow the ultimate evil. I mean, it's like this nonsensical, completely dysfunctional way of looking at everything. There's no consistency to their logic. There's no consistency to their morality. They just make it up based on whatever way they're told to face by their sort of dear leader.
So if their culture, if American culture is so bad, if capitalism and the American dream is so bad, why is China and Russia, why did they embrace it in the 21st century or going to the 21st century, right? Are we in the 21st century? Yeah. They embraced it, right? They embraced capitalism to a certain degree. All these other countries are embracing capitalism to a certain degree because they need it in the system. The free market is a good market. I mean, there's pros and cons to everything, right? We can argue.
Fox.
Mm-hmm.
There's a difference
what they're trying to
political
do is
governance and economic
when Trump's in charge
controls.
They'll tell you America's terrible. When Biden's in charge, America's great. That's the idea. It's basically to tell them that when Biden is in charge, it is a whole better America. Everything's fine. But when Trump's in charge, it's absolutely terrible America. It's racist. It's homophobic. All those buzzwords.
So
just remember what Reagan said.
They brought Reagan up.
If they didn't have double standards, they wouldn't have any standards at all.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's so true too.
That's completely it. Well,
so the logic-wise,
it's not even double standards. It's like triple. And they're also, I love the disconnect between, if you ask a person on the left, and I don't mean to generalize, but I think other people even on the left will back me up. If you ask them to describe themselves, they'll say things like loving, tolerant, open-minded, well-informed. And if you actually then
open-minded, they can even take the word
like
the
most
Trump.
Close-minded, intolerant, arrogant motherfuckers. I'm sorry.
And they paint us as it. Okay. I saw on a poll. I read on a poll
it's all
that
self-projection. It's all self-projection.
They also
but it's astonishing because they see them. They will talk about the people who said, "Oh, the wrong Trump died when Trump's brother passed away." Will tell you that they're loving and tolerant and open-minded. They agree. There is no logical consistency even within their own morality, and I think part of it is that disconnect. They see themselves as fundamentally good people, no matter how hateful and intolerant and bigoted they are.
Right. That's I've been saying that for a long time, that the left is dangerous because they rationalize like everything, just like we're talking about now. That's the problem.
So a current poll showed up. I read that in the current 21st century, the GOP party members, people who support the GOP or vote for Republicans, around almost 50% of them now support gay marriage or the LGBT community. We support it. So I personally support it too, and I believe almost everyone in the room support it. We just don't want you to force your beliefs down our throats, because no one should force anyone's beliefs down their throats. You live your life how you want it. So if we're going to take that into effect, if both parties now believe in those rights, 50% of the party, you got to think, like, back then it wasn't like that. But now we're evolving, like we're being progressive. Not liberals, but we're progressive. And we come to a conclusion, because it's in the Constitution, that everyone has rights, no matter who you are, as long as you don't jam it down people's throat and do no harm, right? Do no harm. So in that token, if you compare the parties together, when both believe in the same thing, and you look at the actions that both parties have done by the key members and by the people who are crazy, common sense would tell you that the left are irrational and
It's why you have
idealistic.
people like Brandon Straka.
Yeah.
Also,
Yeah,
what
they
I've
can't even live
noticed,
without Trump.
is
They
that
can't stop mentioning Trump. Yeah.
people on the left tend to reduce an argument to an ad hominem, and that's how they shut down debate. Because if they can call you a name, they can discredit your whole argument, and that's their whole, like,
Right.
their
They love
aim
word bombs.
their aim is to call you a name so you can't have a conversation about the topic of discussion. And that's what they do commonly, is they slur ad hominems, so there's no debate. If you're a Nazi, there's no debating a Nazi. I mean, they're wrong. They're a Nazi. Nothing that they say is true. And they feel that that's an effective tactic, and that's why they employ it commonly and constantly. And I think that's the big hurdle we have to deal with, is how do we defend against the name slurs and
Well,
Yeah. We're always playing defense. People.
when you
Yes.
here's
people in
the thing.
center are
You know
always
why?
playing
Because
defense.
you know why the left, they got really good at using our standards against us because we have actual standards and they don't. So they can, anytime we fall short, they can use it against us, right? And it's the kind of the same thing with that. We know we're not racist. We know we're not bad people, and that's why they call us that, because they know that it'll sting and that we'll defend ourselves against
Well,
it.
and nuance is difficult. Name calling is easy.
Yeah.
You don't
Exactly.
need, yeah, I mean, an emotional argument is a much easier thing to make than to actually have a structured debate that's based on facts where and Richard's right. You don't have to debate a Nazi because they are beneath your
Exactly.
needing to debate them. They're less than human. That's part of that whole dehumanizing people.
Yep.
You do not have to argue with people who are less than human.
Exactly.
Which is
that's
why
the media does that.
So
which is
do
why the
we
correct
deploy the
response.
do we deploy the same tactic or what?
No,
It
no.
won't work.
So-
I'm gonna
It
tell
won't
you.
work.
I'm gonna tell you this right now. It's the schooling. The main thing why majority of Americans think like this is schooling. You either have schools like where I'm going to. You have schools where they teach you to critically think and question everything and question what someone is saying and look at what and come with your own conclusion rather than believe what people say. Then you have other schools and professors who teach you to believe a certain way. And most of America believe in a certain way.
Oh,
So, what was I getting to? I'm sorry,
You're fine, dude. You're fine.
brain fart.
That
But
happens to me
basically,
every
it's a
time I
cult
get on.
mentality. It's a cult mentality.
So-
it's like
either
this.
believe what I believe or
They're not
pass you
they're
away.
not critically thinking, right?
No.
Critical thinking process. We're not here to bash people. Like, we're here to try to educate people. You're here to like talk like this and everything. So we're trying to tell people, hey, there's an other side. Come, even a Nazi. You can sit down with a Nazi and talk to them and try to show them and everything. But
Well, an
that's
actual
part
Nazi.
of journalism, right?
Yeah, an actual Nazi isn't hard to beat in a debate because it's a stupid ideology that's full of flaws, and you should be able to easily, just like we can easily discredit like Antifa in these groups, because what they're doing, all you have to do is apply your consistent standards. You can see it's wrong, but that's the problem, is that they convince themselves and they rationalize, and every time that you show them that they're wrong, they just they have their
They're
what is
also
it
though
called?
taking advantage of something new, which
Well, no,
is that Americans have very short attention spans, and I think that's
Mhm.
become a problem for the right. You want to have a discussion about facts and reason and logic, you have to pay attention a little bit, and that is not. First off, a lot of Americans are tired. They don't want to have to deal with. I mean, they don't, even at the end of the day, they don't want to
Yes.
have to get caught up on the news, spend time looking and searching, which is the only way you're going to get good unbiased
Yeah,
information. It
and I'm
gets
getting
harder
there
every
myself,
day.
by the way.
Yeah, absolutely. And the
What
reality
are you
is,
talking
you've
about
got
now?
a
They watch CNN
generation
all the time.
coming up. Yeah, but you have a generation coming up with the attention span of gnats. They do.
Right.
They're like kindergartners who forgot to take their Ritalin. They cannot absorb full sentences, and it is very easy to get to them with those flashes of racist and emotional hits. It is very hard to get them to listen to a complete argument based on facts because they simply do not have the attention span. And that's a very mean thing to say. And I don't think they come by it because they're lazy or stupid. They're conditioned to it. They're conditioned to it by Twitter and by all
Yeah.
the like social media platforms. Everything is in a little bite. Nothing comes in a full sentence. Everything comes in a little like boop.
Do you remember? Do you
As
remember
someone
when
that
the
is Gen Z, I completely agree.
Do you remember
there's
when
a,
the SPLC defended the neo-Nazis to protest in like
Yeah.
Illinois?
Yeah.
And it was
Illinois
shocking
Nazis.
because a lot of the lawyers were Jewish. And, you know, a lot of people were offended by where they went in that specific location in Illinois because it was an area that if there was it was heavily populated with people who survived the Holocaust. And they asked, you know, it was a nuanced situation. And they asked, why are you defending these Nazis? And they said, because we're not defending them per se, we're defending freedom of speech. And that's such a complicated, nuanced, admirable position to take.
Yeah.
And
And that's
Agreed.
so annoying when
nowadays,
they
that
call
would
Ben
never
Shapiro
fly.
a Nazi.
and I guarantee you, those neo-Nazis probably thought differently of them because they were thought that Jewish were bad and they would never help them. When your enemy help you, when you help your enemy, they tend to think differently, right?
Yeah.
Like think like, oh, we're human, we're all same.
But
It's
now they would accuse those lawyers of being Nazis themselves.
Yes,
It,
they
it's
would.
it's insane. But because it's so simplified and reduced to such a like Aaron was saying earlier, that people have attention spans of gnats. They can't digest and understand the nuance of what people are doing and their motivations and the purpose for
Well, yeah.
their actions.
That's hard to do, and it takes, you don't get that dopamine rush necessarily. You might instead just get a bunch of hate. So most people just want to take the path of least resistance, you know, and so that's why you get that. They know they'll get the pat on the back if they take the other position. So you know, why put your neck out there?
It's a shame because it our whole country was founded for the freedom of
Yeah,
speech.
that's what I was saying.
And
Yeah,
I think
First and
like
Second
the
Amendment.
government
That's what it's all about.
is pressuring the big tech companies, and they are acting as a they're acting as an agent of the government to silence people, and it's not
Well, words
not
are violence. That's what they've convinced people.
Yeah.
If you are hurt, and it's also that I talk about this all the time. People must be getting sick of it. It's that external locus of control. If you feel bad or you're unhappy, that is not your responsibility to fix. The world around you has to change to fix that. And the way to fix that is if I'm offended, then your words hurt me, and you have to be punished and silenced so your words can't hurt me anymore. The fact that I just used words, and the whole point of the First Amendment is to protect those words, even if they hurt your feelings, has gone right out the window, especially when you push the idea that words are violence, hurting people is bad. If you say the wrong thing, you're a bad person. Then getting rid of the First Amendment becomes a lot easier.
and sometimes being hurt by words is good. Sometimes
Right.
you
Oh,
need to be
absolutely.
hurt by
critical
words.
thinking, high criticism, right? Like
You know, now that you mention that, the first time I first started noticing that was when it came to like discipline of kids, and even my own brother, you know, my younger brother. I don't want to talk about him a lot, but anytime he'd do something that was stupid or bad, I'd get on him about it. And after a while, you're just like, because he'd get so mad, and people be like, you know, why bother? I think that's what happened with people. They just stopped like being critical, even when you're doing it from a good place, because everyone just gets so offended, and it's like, why even bother?
Well, I think they lost the idea that feeling bad sometimes actually does build character. Hearing
Right,
the word
it does.
does
Right.
build character. And that I think it's also, and I know this is cliche, but it's true, that idea of like everybody should get a trophy. Okay, people aren't
Yeah.
stupid. If everybody gets a trophy, that trophy
Means
becomes
nothing.
meaningless.
Yes.
And so you have a lot of people who I think they don't realize that okay, real validation comes from being special, and being special to some degree comes from working to get, you know, you have
Right.
to work.
Yes.
But nobody wants to work for it because they're just used to getting It's like a dopamine hit you get with like a whole bunch of likes on Twitter.
Right.
I
Yeah,
want
and
the dopamine hit of where's my free trophy? I want my free trophy. I want my upvotes.
yes.
I want to feel better, and I don't ever want to feel bad. And if I feel bad, that's somebody else's fault. They better fix it.
Yeah, people are like drug addicts for that dopamine. You know, I was
So
watching.
it's like
My daughter was watching Peppa Pig this morning, or my youngest son, second youngest son, and they were in the episode. They were having some sort of a contest for pets, and then at the end, all the kids got a trophy or a prize. And I had to explain to my daughter. I'm like, Ellen, because she just got into soccer. And I'm like, you know, there's no point in winning if everybody wins. I'm like, that defeats the purpose. And I was trying to explain to her, you know, that sometimes you have to lose, but that's not necessarily a bad thing, and that you learn from it, and that's the fun of competition. And it just cracked me up that I have to explain all this to my daughter because the children's programming is brainwashing them with nonsense.
So that really.
I actually want to tell can I tell you a story about when I was about 10?
Yeah.
So I'm in this karate tournament. I do okay. I didn't get any trophies. Then the final thing comes in. There's only 3 people, so automatically I'm gonna get a trophy. So I get the 3rd place trophy because these 2 other kids trained their lives for it. Like I tell you, they were amazing. So I get the 3rd place trophy, and I'm sad. And my father's like, "Why are you sad?" And I tell him like, "I got this trophy because there was only 3 people. I didn't get this trophy because I earned it. I didn't get this trophy because I did well. I did meh. I did okay. I did well. So why am I getting this trophy?" And I still have it to this day. It's just a reminder. Actually, if you want, I can show it to you.
Yeah, I think you should give that trophy to Kamala Harris.
Yeah, you know, when I was a kid, I got into a 3-on-3 basketball tournament.
She doesn't deserve it. She didn't even try.
I got into a 3-on-3 basketball tournament with my friends, and we thought we were pretty good. Well, it was not a Bernie Mac tournament. Gus Macker 3-on-3. Anyway, we got into it and immediately got our asses kicked in the very first match. And they gave us a toilet bowl award. And it's like at the time, yeah, it's like that's okay. That kind of thing when you're like, here, you suck. Here's an award for sucking. That's different. I'm okay with that.
Yeah, and
that's like giving someone Razzie.
Better.
Right. Right. It's like you suck. Don't come back when you got some skills.
So learning through a psychology, right? They have like the 3 parenting system: the authoritarian parent, the authoritative parent, and the permissive parent.
Authoritative.
Yeah, authoritative is probably the best when you have the rules or society rules for your child and you treat them, but you also explain to them there's rules and there's punishment for rules. But when you go to the permissive parent style, it's like, oh, it's about your feelings, but how you feel that everyone is special and everyone deserves reward and all this and that. So when you guys are talking about that, thought about this, I'm like, oh, it seems similar to like they're treating us like kids, right? These people are treating Democrats are treating their followers like kids, and they're trying to appeal to them and allow them to do everything, so then they get the votes and they get to stay in power. But in the long run, it doesn't help. Like this mindset doesn't help because you are not saying you're not being self-sufficient. Yeah, spoiled brats. That's essentially what they're doing. And when something hurts you, like someone says something offensive to you and you feel hurt, and then they're like, oh, you're allowed, like everyone should say it. We should limit how they say. We should feel like everyone's feelings or whatnot. I guarantee you they would not last a single minute in a Call of Duty lobby. I guarantee you.
Right.
It's like,
what about Trump?
See,
what about
I think
Trump's
that
new
you know
social
what?
media?
Yeah. Real quick, I just want to just chime in on that. You may have something there with our people who are gamers, because you endure a lot of hate when you're a gamer, and you become like iron, like everything bounces off of you. I think we need to put everybody through gaming. But see, that's why they're trying to nerf that now.
I think we should put everyone through a COD lobby and explain to them that, hey, at the end of the day, it's just free speech. Words sticking stones may hate. Sticking stones, right? Words.
Yes, that should be a next constitutional amendment.
It's like,
what do you all think about Trump's new social media platform that is anticipated to be available in the next couple months.
I think a lot of people will flock to it just mainly because we're sick of everything, right?
I think what might
No,
happen is that a
the
bunch
people
of
who flock to it will be on the right. It'll be just a right. It'll be an echo chamber probably. I don't think people will.
I think the
There's
left will
no,
flock to it
balance
I
too.
think what's
anymore.
going to
We're all
happen is
so
a bunch of
polarized.
leftists are going to go on the site and try to ruin the site. That's what I think is going to happen.
No,
A bunch of leftists are going to flock all the way. They're
Yes,
going to
that's
try
what I
to do
think.
sites,
Right
calling
back, guys.
names and stuff, and try to ruin
But I
it.
mean, you see on Gab, people that are on the left don't last because they're outnumbered. Just the way people on the right don't
Yeah,
like usually hang out.
it's
Only a few hang out on Twitter and fight the good fight because everybody's so polarized, and it always becomes whichever site you're on. If you're on the like sort of minority view, it becomes a dog pile. There's no, and
so
nobody
it's
nobody wants to have like a back and forth, intelligent. Nobody wants to agree to disagree.
so you gotta look at the platforms: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all that. What do they do when you try to have a meaningful conversation? They try to mute you. They're like the annoying parent who tries to censor you every time you try to talk. Like every time you try to come up with some or raise your voice a little bit, they're there to slap your hand. So you're talking
And
about this new place where there's no limitations, there's no limitations. Like I don't know what the rules are gonna be. I'm pretty sure there's gonna be rules about don't harass someone fully or anything like that. But for the
Right.
most part, freedom of
I think-
speech, right?
I think they'll allow it because it's a constant news story. There's something going on that platform that the news can report on. And I think
Yeah.
that's why they'll allow it, because it's like the Fox News is like the unique outlet where they can like sort of report on that and like criticize it. So they'll allow some opposition. So they have something newsworthy to report on. This is what they did on Trump's social media platform. Isn't this terrible? Like I
Well,
think it's a
So-
good
you're right.
news
They're going
story.
to target it though. They're going to try and gab it and be
Here-
like, if anybody who's on that platform does anything remotely violent or illegal or horrible, and even if they have to put someone on there and then have them
Right.
do something awful, I think they'll do it. They will want to tie some terrorist, horrible person who does some. They will want to tie a Dylan Roof
They
Yeah.
will. They will.
directly to that.
They
I
will.
don't know what's wrong with
it's
them, but they can't
they
live without
will.
Trump. Take
It's
Trump out
just
of
a
the
matter of
equation,
time.
It's like
and
every
they'll go
social
insane.
media, right? Facebook also had this thing with remember that shooting in the store,
Orlando?
the Muslim man or the Syrian man. I'm gonna say the Syrian man. The Syrian man.
Yeah, Syrian Muslim.
Syrian Muslim, yes. He shot up the school. I mean, school. That's I suppose
Grocery
that's
store.
American.
The nightclub
Grocery
in
store.
Orlando?
No, the one
no,
a
that was
couple
a
of days
different one.
ago.
That was a
Grocery
different
store.
Muslim.
Before they found out who he was, they all basically thought it was a white dude, and they all harped on it.
They were
But
more
afterwards,
upset that he was a Muslim
hmm
than
So-
they were that those people died. At the end of the day,
yeah.
Oh,
especially
that
like
guy was
Kamala
a
Harris, they were
Muslim?
more bummed. They
Mhm.
couldn't, and they even
Yep.
tried to say, well, he was technically still white. Yeah.
So that's
okay.
He
saying
is
that all
a Syrian
Syrians are white.
refugee immigrant Muslim.
Would he have been
Oh.
white if he had been the victim of an attack? Probably not.
No,
No,
hell no.
But I'm gonna go and
This is
count
how
here.
fucked up our
Like,
country is I didn't even know that. That's how fucked up our country is. I didn't
but
know
I'm gonna
that.
go on a limb and say this. Like, I think I talked about this with my friend, right? And we talked about this. What happened in the past month? Biden bombed Syria, so he's Syrian.
Right.
Trump did too, though. Come on. Let's be
but
fair
still,
about it.
It is a recent
But-
thing, though. It's more
It's
recent.
true,
Yes,
but he said he was going to stop the forever wars. Biden.
Well, the other thing is that his social media was
I
filled
think
with
when Trump did it, I thought it was a bad thing too. So
well,
either way,
beyond that, beyond the Syrian bombing, this guy's social media was filled with Democrat state media stuff. And so, but they don't get blamed for inciting him, of course. There's not even
and
a
they found out
suggestion.
Later,
wasn't his
quickly.
original target a Trump rally. He wasn't originally
Right.
going to go to the supermarket. He wanted to
Yep.
kill people at a
Really?
Trump rally that
Yeah.
got canceled.
And he
Yeah,
killed
oh,
all
yeah,
white
he was-
people.
He was on the FBI's
Oh,
radar.
wow.
They were well aware of him and well aware of the fact that he had said and done some problematic things.
Yeah.
They just were busy with, I swear to God, the FBI really has become a
The-
horrible, evil
The
organization.
FBI is basically your Gestapo.
Yeah,
Right
that's
now.
what it's become.
They only care about us who are opposed to the agenda, the
That's
whatever.
the deep state.
deep
Theory.
state agenda,
sadly.
but it's showing its colors now. It's like anyone who wants to come in and say, "Oh, you're just being a conspiracy theorist," the facts are outlined there. Everything's
Well, that's what
outlined
you
there.
weren't you talking before we came on about the Gestapo when we were talking about
Yeah,
like, and you're
I
saying
guess.
I can't believe people can't see it. You forget
Yeah,
the people who want this are happy about it. Like, I mean, some
yeah.
people don't see it, but some people see it as a good thing. Every time people talk about Orwell, I always say there's
So
two ways to
insane.
look at that book. You can either look at it as a cautionary tale, or you can look at it as a
Or an
roadmap.
instruction book.
As an
Yes.
exactly. It is for them. It is the instruction manual on how they get what they want, and what
Hey,
they
Sherry
want is
Angel.
more power and more control.
Isn't that book where they torture people with some glass rods or
The
something
Storm,
stuck up
right?
in
Swamp
there?
Colors.
Well, Orwell wrote a lot of different things, but I mean, the
Okay.
message was all basically the same.
Yeah,
It was against
deep
Stalinism
state.
and communism. Well, no, it was really more against the idea of the government taking control, and and they take control with the messages that people on the left love to hear. It's going to be about equality. The fact that if everybody gets the same thing, regardless of how hard they work or don't work, or what they do or don't do, is not equality. Never
Yeah, it's not.
penetrates their mind.
That's
They
what,
think
you have
everything
to
is
you
going to
have
be
to
like the
oppress somebody
small
for
world
that.
ride at Disneyland. You know the small world ride where everyone's holding hands and singing?
Yeah.
That's what they think it's
Kumbaya.
gonna be. Yeah.
No, it's a small
Yeah,
world.
they think globalism is going to be us holding hands and singing. They don't realize it's going to be frickin' the second coming of, the unholy rise of Stalin, because they see it, and that's part of that everybody gets a trophy.
Oh shit.
If you're the person who gets a trophy when everybody gets a trophy, and you realize, oh shit, everybody got a trophy, this is meaningless, that puts you in a different category than the person who's like, well, everybody should
God.
get a trophy because then nobody feels bad. And they're appealing to the nobody should feel bad crowd.
Yeah.
Do y'all feel worried about inflation and our national debt?
God,
or
yes.
no?
Inflation,
Oh,
Yeah.
it's happening for a
inflation
long
much more
time.
than a
It's gonna
national debt
happen.
right now.
I mean, it's gonna take
It's
a little
going
while,
that
but
way.
it's definitely gonna happen.
Because I have money saved up and I'm a little concerned it's going to be devalued. And
Same here.
It's to the point.
Invested in something hard.
This is what's gonna happen. It's gonna
Buy
come to the point
farmland.
where we overspend to the point where we borrow money from China, right? Because they're not gonna tell where they get the money from. Potentially, it's gonna be from China. Then China buys a nation, and who
Right,
are the
I
nations?
feel like that's already
honestly,
happened.
we're not
It's happening right now.
borrowing
It's-
money. We're not borrowing
We're-
money like
We're
we
printing
have in
it.
the past.
Yeah, we don't
just
have any money to
money's
pay
gonna
it.
go burr.
Borrowing, right? Borrowing quotation
Well,
marks.
but he's right. We're not borrowing, we're just printing. But then our money is
Mhm.
worthless and their money has value.
Right.
Yeah,
And they own
but
us.
yes.
They own us. Like I feel it.
yeah,
How do
but
we know
what
that
gives
isn't
our
already the
money
case?
value, though?
I think
What
China
gives
already
our money
owns us
value?
because you look at the gaming, especially gaming. If you're a gamer, like heavy gamer, you look at the companies that are being bought right now, the gaming companies. You look at Tencent, you look at the mobile gamings in general, you look at TikTok, you look at Facebook, you look at all this stuff. Eventually, they're all going to be bought up by China, Chinese companies, and then these big billionaires and Chinese billionaires
You
and Chinese
think so?
companies, they're going to be giving it to access to the Chinese government, because that's a huge issue with TikTok for a long time.
They buy
Was
it
our
or not,
innovation.
though, because what they don't buy, I'll tell you a dirty little secret. You know how Biden today said, "Oh,
Ooh,
we're
get
going to
dirty.
invest in technology because we haven't been investing in technology."
Where's Smoke
Anybody
Steve?
who works in the tech field knows Japan and China just take the tech that we develop and they can steal it. If
Yep.
it's
China
Japan doesn't
especially.
do that. Japan
Yeah,
doesn't do that. China does it, but not Japan.
China does it. Japan, they actually a business, but China is.
Japan may do it more, but they trust me.
I'm
I know
okay with
'cause my
Japan.
brother works in the medical field
I love
and he
Japan.
develops MRIs. They're not above copying and pasting. The
Everyone
reality
is.
but
Business.
China has no problem stealing our
China,
ideas.
it's legally mandated that they do that.
Yeah,
China's
China-
history
you're
has
doing-
always been that way. They always try to make a big money. Like they try to.
Well, but
They
that's
look
what
at the long
scares
run.
me. When he was talking about that, he was basically saying, we're going to pay for China. We're going to invest our money in technological development, which is like anybody who knows what goes on is like saying, we're going to pay for China's research. and
Right, we're
development, which we
subsidizing
already
China's
do.
R&D.
We already fund that lab that theoretically may have created the
Coronavirus.
flu, whatever. Yeah,
Quote
whatever you wanna
unquote,
call it.
according to the investigators.
that's
That's
why-
another
quote,
topic.
unquote.
Why is the media so hard pressed to get that to go away? Like, why
Because
are
Because
they?
they denied it for so long.
That's a good question, Dronetek. That's a very good question.
Because they're so like they're journalists. They should be digging. Like think of like the '70s idea of a journalist. You know, like what was the guy's name that what's his face played?
Walter Cronkite.
Yeah, like Bernstein. These guys are the opposite of that.
Right
They're not journalists. They're just what do you call?
Or even the comic book journalists. What would Lois Lane do? What would April O'Neil do?
What would Clark Kent do?
Yeah, April O'Neil. Yes.
Fart sniffing pieces of shit.
They'd be calling her a white supremacist, no doubt.
What would the guy from Spider-Man, Jones? What's his name? Jones.
J. Jonah Jameson.
Yes. What would he do? He was always going after Spider-Man. He's always trying to look after the facts.
Yeah, but our media calls you a racist if you claim that the virus came from China. Like they literally do, and then they accuse you of being the reason behind people being attacked, Asian people.
You talking about it? There's not many.
The European virus different than the China. It's okay to call it the European variant. That's
the UK variant. Yeah.
The UK
I support.
It's okay to call it that.
I support Aaron's idea of dissolution of states, and it's a peaceful dissolution of states.
Oh, the divorce idea.
Peaceful divorce.
Yeah, I don't want to have a civil war. I would like to have a peaceful dissolution where I get to move to Texas, and I would invest in land in Texas if I had money right now or something.
Yes, I support that idea completely.
Basically
kind of heading towards that.
Yeah, we're basically headed to the history when I first talked, like when we was here debating, like very nice week ago, 2 weeks ago. I modeled America closely to the Roman Empire in its twilight, in its twain, where they started splitting because of they couldn't handle themselves, and majority of it came through because politicians were corrupt and they did it for their own gain instead of the people's gain.
Right now. It's
happening right now. And right now they're putting a whole divide in America to where it's going to be ending up where you split. If you believe in a certain ideology, you move to that place. I'm down for it.
Balkanized. We're turning it to the Balkanized ununited states.
Yeah, it's going to be
Here's the thing with peaceful divorce, though. Here's the thing with peaceful divorce, though.
Mm-hmm.
In order for a state to legally secede, Congress would have to assent. There is no constitutional way to secede. The Constitution doesn't lay it out. So
our country was founded by rebels, by the way.
Yeah, I'm getting to that. So, do you think that if Texas says we're out of here, we're seceding, the resolution that's going to be coming up sometime this year goes through, and they vote to secede, that the Congress and the Senate, House and the Senate would say, yeah, you're good to leave?
Yeah, I think we could find equal votes because people want to dissolve. That's what I think.
I think other people may join Texas if Texas.
I think a lot of states will join.
We would have 20 states secede. It would be,
but again, it's not going to be a civil war, like bloody civil war, like last time, because the reality is
very much will.
I'm afraid he's right. I'm afraid Asher's right that even if Texas and the 20 states that go with it, or however many states that go with it, say, you know what, we just want to walk away. We don't want to fight.
But we're gonna
just go our way, you go ours. I think it's like the last Civil War. They could have done that last time, and they sure as hell didn't let it happen without a buddy.
Well, I'm gonna go this way. You look at today's temperament. You talk about all these keyboard warriors and these
war of northern aggression.
Like they are more aggressive online than they are in physicality. Those people who are screaming for deaths of people who don't believe what they believe and don't care how we die or anything, they're gonna be ending up fighting on the front lines. When they do, they're going to change their tone really quickly.
No, they're going to want to do what everybody does, send somebody else to the front line.
But again,
there's a lot more mechanics and technology involved now.
Here's the thing. There are literally millions of people that have direct combat experience or have military experience. At least in the hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people that have seen combat, that do not want a civil war, but would rather have a civil war than what is coming if the right keeps rolling over. And so all of those people, and I know a number of them,
nice, dude.
have been saying for years, I cannot do this because I have a family.
Right, that's me, man.
Very shortly, and I know someone that has already done this. They're going to start saying, I have to do this because I have a family.
I have a family, exactly.
Right.
And when that happens, there's going to be some protest or some rally where there's armed people on both sides, right wingers and Antifa or something like that. And
all it
then
takes is one shot.
Right, but
No,
that's
here's
what
what's
they
gonna
want.
happen.
And then they start calling us, you know. That's what
here's
they
what's
want
going to
that.
happen. Someone
this
on the right wing
Orwellian
side that is
existence
well
that we live in
organized
currently.
is going to say contact front, and then the whole world will change.
Yeah, we don't know what's going on.
I don't doubt that. I think that probably is what's going to happen. But I think
But for
that
legal
that's exactly what they
reasons-
want, and I think
for
it's
legal
gonna end badly
reasons-
for us.
For legal reasons, this is a joke. For legal reasons.
I'm
At
not
least we'll
advocating. I am just saying how it's going to be.
Yep, it's gonna
We'll
be
have to-
historically. We're just right now. What we're seeing, whoever joining live stream right now, we're just
I find
talking
that
about.
offensive that
Yeah,
you
we're
have
not-
to say for legal reasons, and we don't mean this, and you have to live in fear of the idea. While at the same
'Cause
time,
this is
the
we're
country
on
we
a
live in.
server, but Antifa is out there basically openly
Speaking
saying,
of,
"Go, you know,
We're
gonna
just
go
we're
bomb
just
the
historically
Portland courthouse.
predicting.
We're gonna get
Right.
to get. Don't forget to bring your riot shield and your Molotov cocktails and your frozen water bottles, because we're gonna go basically try and beat the shit out of some cops tonight."
Because democracy dies in
unfortunately-
darkness.
Such a disgrace.
Yeah, unfortunately,
Speaking
that's the
of-
world we live in.
Dronetek, are you
Yes.
on Entropy yet?
Entropy? No, I've been asked that multiple times. I need to get on there.
I highly recommend it. They do not and will not ever ban anyone. They do not have native streaming quite yet. They do restreaming from YouTube and DLive, and they do have native streaming, but it's still beta. And they're working out glitches.
Is that
But
a
they
new
should have
streaming
it.
site?
It is entropystream.live. Highly recommend it. You can do what you want there.
Well, I mean, I pretty much do. I do definitely hold back on YouTube. I hate that they've like trained me to do that.
Yeah, that's a shame.
But I'm like
Yeah.
stuck. I'm stuck here. Like this is where I, you know,
It's
this is
You
tough
my
to
don't,
get
job.
one.
you don't need to make any apologies for it. We get it, man. We
It
get
sucks.
It.
I mean,
It's-
someday they'll kick me and ban me, but until then,
Well,
Dude,
I
don't
mean,
be
some
banned.
things are rising up. It's just a question of which is gonna. And I have to believe YouTube can be replaced, because one day there was a
Yes.
Someday it will
MySpace,
be.
and now there
Yes.
is no MySpace.
Yeah, something else is gonna come along with better interface, and as long as it looks shiny, right? It's like a new car. You like the new shiny
Yeah.
things. Like I'm gonna talk about like Trump's social media. If they do it really well and they have a really nice design and interface, and the app is really well made, like way better than what Messenger is, and they
It's
have like options to have
Government
voice chat.
pressure, though. Government
Yeah,
is
the government's going to
pressuring
try
them.
and take down anything that comes and opposes any Google
Yes.
platform, because that means no control. Look at how they go after Gab. When I'm on Gab, I'm like sharing memes,
Yeah.
like recipes for bread and pictures of puppies. But they would have anybody who's not on Gab believe that it's a bunch of neo-Nazis planning, you know, basically to go push people. If you do not go on that site, that is what you think it is. You think it's neo-Nazis planning, and there's some, don't get me wrong, it's a completely open platform. There are some people on there you avoid because there are some bad actors, but the
Yeah.
idea is
That's life.
everybody,
Engage
yeah,
them.
that's life.
Engage.
Did you see the 230 thing today
230.
with with the Zuckerberg,
Oh yeah,
good,
I saw those comments
Pachai,
about
and
it.
yeah,
we watched
that
a little bit of it. That's
yeah,
true.
they fluffage. It's
Oh yeah, it was totally worthless. And I also hate how when they
Did you? I was going to say, did you catch how they were talking about the radicalization of
Yes.
former military?
Yes.
Yeah, that's on their fucking next. That's on their to-do list, brother.
Yep.
Well, they seem
They're
to
an
be very
agency.
intent on changing the military in general. I mean, I love the idea of like we're gonna.
No,
make
I'm
it-
talking about former military.
Well, but,
Right.
but I think
Gulag.
I think it's a two-front. I think it's a two-front attack. They don't want people former but they also don't want people within the military who aren't willing to bend the knee to the leftist agenda. They're very much basically starting that whole like rat out your comrades.
Oh yeah.
If they're not,
Yes.
it's very much the rat out your comrades. You're either with us or against us, and if you're against us, we're coming for you. And
Yeah,
they'll talk-
I am not going to be re-enlisting. I would love to. I love my job, but I will not be re-enlisting.
Yeah. My brother is a Marine. He did 3 tours in Iraq. He told me that just based on the training standards that were being lowered, that like all the alphas, he's like, all the alphas, all the best people you'd want, they all left and they want nothing to do with it.
Well, and I find that
can have a
I find that
private
idea
military.
offensive. Like, I think women have a place in the military, but it's not like I think I'm like Army Ranger material. I'm not. I'm physically, there's physically things I can't do. I never felt like, I mean, I may not like it, but I'm not going to pretend like Joe Biden saying anything a man can do, a woman can do. That's a fucking lie.
No, anything a woman can do, a man can do better. That's the real.
But that to me is like offensive because that's that idea that I can't handle the truth. The average man is going to be stronger
low
than
expectations.
me. Yeah, I mean, that to me is like way more offensive. There's things I can do a man can't do. There's things men can do I can't do.
Women can do a lot.
There are men I'm stronger. Yeah, there are men I'm stronger than, but there's sure hell not a lot of them.
You know what? Women can do a lot of shit men can't do, though.
Bastards I could take down, but other than that, most men
women can bear children, and like just that alone is I'm just like hats off to
you. Balance beam. I mean, there's shit like that too.
Remember when the military was all about whoever can do the job the best gets the job?
Well, not just the military.
I remember that.
If I am gonna look into being a firefighter, I can't physically pick up somebody and carry them out of a burning building. Or maybe I could in my prime if I really, but you know, the time, I'm fairly athletic. So the time period where I could do that would be very short and I would have to work my ass off to stay at peak condition. I would make a good paramedic. I could be good on the phone. I could still be involved, but I would not want to put myself, my team, and the general public in a position where their lives were in jeopardy so I could protect what? My fucking ego? So that I could lie to myself and say women are just as good as men? No, if I can't do the job and it's a physical job, tell me. Do not put other people in jeopardy to protect the egos of frickin' feminists, because that's not what feminism should ever be about.
You're so right. And also that is tangentially related to the subject that I'm going to introduce, which Dronetek's commented on, which was the person who was the nominee for the Department of Health and Human Services. And that is a
he has no health experience.
To our country. It's a disgrace to our country that that person was nominated. And I don't know how that's not national news. And
it is national news, but if you say it in a negative, if you say it's anything other than if you say it's stunning and brave, then you're correct. If you say it's anything other than stunning and brave, you're a bigot.
Right. You know what? I look at it. It's almost like a test. It's like a test a barometer that they can gauge the country's like brainwashed level. And so it's like all the people who are like yes. It's like those people, they see 5 lights when there are 4, and it's like they can gauge, and that's where we're at. I mean, because this person, what really, like this is the person that you feel you need to put guys, it's just we realize that this person has a mental illness, and there's a whole other group of people who think that it's just another gender or whatever. It's insane.
That's how I know our society is in decline. When I see that, I recognize our society is no longer accelerating and on an incline. We're now declining.
Yeah, we are, Steve.
Because nothing about that makes sense.
Yeah, and what about it leads to something good? Like, what benefit do we really gain from any of this shit? Like, and I think there might be like a depopulation thing going on here, some sort of agenda where they want to depopulate and lower the numbers. They seem real excited about making America, a minority white country. At the same time that they're
beyond race, they push the idea that like if you don't have children, that's noble. And so the people who would have the actual control to not be parents because they are too afraid or because they're too scared or because they don't feel they're worthy aren't going to have kids. And let's face facts. The people who don't give a shit and don't think and breed with no care or concern for their offspring will still have litter. And I say this with bitterness because I used to work in family planning. The people who are the brain dead fucking morons of the world will breed like rabbits. And the people who give a shit and have any kind of concern for that child and would be the best parents
sense of responsibility.
Are not gonna, and I totally am a hypocrite because I don't have kids, but are not going to have kids because they're too scared. They're not going to want to put their kids in this world. And so we collectively have a bunch of shitty parents raising a bunch of children who are going to be not well cared for.
Agreed.
Completely. And become somewhat words in the state. And if you say anything about it negative, they'll say, oh, well, they go to like eugenics and you just want to tell people what to do. And I'm like, no, I want shitty monster people who are horrible and abusive to their children to be fixed. Because I think if you beat your kid and you neglect your kid, you're not a parent, you're a monster. And monsters shouldn't have kids. Monsters should be fixed. And that's not eugenics. I don't care what color you are. I don't care about anything about you. I care about your behavior.
Who's Mike?
You do not have
the
the
people that care.
Yeah,
the people that care the most.
Really
no, the people that care the most, that are most responsible, that plan the best, are the people that tend to produce the least, and those that have zero
really. What in the hell? Is that you, Steel? Who is that?
That's me. That's me.
Like,
I was saying.
Hold on. Somebody's got some like seriously bad feedback coming through here.
Oh, I can't hear it.
What is that?
Whose mic is active when it comes through?
No. I see what it is. 1 second, guys. I apologize. That's my kid. You guys can probably hear that.
I can't hear it.
You've got a crackly mic, dude.
I got it. No, I'm playing a game and it was somebody in game's mic. I muted him. We're good.
So I was basically agreeing with Erin, as I normally do, because I appreciate her counseling and her knowledge should be respected.
Thank you.
Just
compliments towards you, because I do respect your opinion.
Thank you very much.
Stunning and brave.
Awesome. I gotta say, I'm glad she's here. But yeah, guys. No, we're gonna keep going. I just thanks for being here, guys. You're all awesome. You guys still there?
Yeah.
Okay, it got like super silent all of a sudden. I was just wondering.
Well, because I was complimenting Erin so much, it got awkward. Sorry.
It's awkward. Awkward. I don't take compliments.
No, she is.
Well.
She's good to have around for sure. She's smart and it's good to have a female voice around. And
she doesn't take compliments very well. I'll say that.
Oh man, who's got
nobody takes compliments well. I guess probably somebody does. I don't.
That's true. You should just say thank you and
myself.
I said thank you, and then I laughed because it makes me uncomfortable. I was raised to like not respond well to compliments. You don't want to get a big head, I think is what my family. You don't want to get a big head. You don't want to take too much with the compliments.
Agreed. It is.
Well, guys, I think I am gonna. We've been going for a while now, so I think I'm gonna wrap this up. But if anybody wants to come to Discord and hang out with us and chat, you're more than welcome to.
Be honest, you just want to focus on your game.
No, it's just, what time is it? 10:13 right now. I mean, we can keep going. I'll keep going. Screw it. Keep going. I'm still going to play, so it's whatever. Look, Thursday night is basically my only night to game, and it's also the night I stream, so I thought I'd integrate it because you know what else? Fortnite gets a lot of views. So I might as well just throw that in there and see if it helps.
We also, none of us will go on cam, like we don't plan ahead.
Right, you guys aren't going on cam, so it might as well just be voice while I play.
We offer very little in the way of visual interest other than Foxy and his hat. We just don't.
That's okay. Well, people aren't here for the visual necessarily. They're here for maybe Fortnite and some intellectual discourse. I wish we had some other voices in here other than just agreement, because it gets kind of boring, you know. Because we're just like
disagree sometimes.
We disagree. Speech though was a good thing because we didn't really even do too much of that. There was so much wrong with that I mean, maybe that's why nobody from the left wants to show up. That was, considering it was 100% scripted, that was a huge embarrassment.
Yes. Yeah, let's talk more about the Biden thing, because that was
dismal fucking failure.
Well, it doesn't. But again, the media is there to and I reference back to the Zoom meeting, which I will probably play here real quick. But the Zoom meeting where these people in the media are talking about how, oh well, Biden, he can control that. There's not going to be anybody in there who asks him something that's going to make him look bad, and that's exactly what happened. He called on all friendly people who just reinforced what he wanted to reinforce, and he never called on Ducey. And it was just a joke, and the press is a joke, especially fucking Yamanchi. It has nothing to do with color. She could be a white person, and she's just annoying as fuck.
No, that has nothing to do with color. That was
nothing.
Her word. She embarrassed herself in her profession. She prefaced the question, "You're so noble and so great." That's not a question. That's an ass kiss.
Yes, it
of
was.
A man who didn't deserve it.
Yes.
Yep. And the worst thing about that, with especially in regards to Yamanchi, is that she's fucking public radio. Oh, speaking of that, did you guys see where the Boston Globe and another newspaper are starting a whole new paper which they're backing and promoting, which I believe includes Yamanchi and Joy Reid, where and this guy, I can't remember his name, but he's one of these anti-racist, he's a little black dude with like a ponytail. You know what I'm talking about? He makes his rounds on, he's got some weird name, I can't remember what it is, but he's heading it up, and it's like straight up anti-white racist propaganda is what it is.
Critical Race Theory Times?
Yeah.
Is that gonna be the, yeah.
I can't remember the guy's name. I can look it up here, but and I'll put a link, but the Boston Globe is actually backing this. Which is,
that's what scares me, is there, and it's part of that selective morality, and it's also it is very much anti-white. It's that idea that white people can never be forgiven for the bad things they've done, which seem to be limitless.
We didn't do.
Wait, but as soon as a Muslim does something in terms of a terrorist organization, the first thing you see trending is hashtag not all Muslims.
Right.
So you cannot still hold against any Muslim what happened on September 11th, or what happened in Denver, or what happened in Orlando, or anything, or any of the terrorist attacks in Europe, or the ones that happen basically every week if you look around if you go global. I mean, it's a weekly thing that somebody gets aimed or killed.
I mean, after the Denver attack, one of the first things I saw was, after it came out that he was a Muslim, was that he was bullied here in the state by a bunch of white supremacists for his name and the fact that he was Muslim. So therefore, it was his fault.
Yeah.
And
so he's absolved, and all Muslims are absolved from responsibility immediately. And if you think otherwise, you're horrible. But all white people are guilty for all eternity for these sins that they've done. Now, mind you, all of those sins are sins every other race on the planet has done.
Human beings.
Special. Yeah. And they also romanticize the past, like everything. I love the romanticization of both North America and Africa, because those are the only two places I've lived. Like, they have this idea that everything was terrible before colonization. It was a wonderful world, and everybody was holding hands and singing and living in nature, in harmony with nature. That's a fucking lie.
Without whites, it'd be perfect.
Yeah, people were dying before they were 30. They were living a Stone Age existence. They were fighting with each other. They were practicing the same human slavery that they then just sold slaves to other people. Stop acting like it was a beautiful, idyllic utopia. That never happened. And it's a very dangerous thing to act like Europeans came along, and when they gave schools and roads and infrastructure and education systems, that somehow they made things worse. I'm not saying everything they did was right. I'm not saying that there was nothing good before. I'm saying stop painting a picture of a past that never existed.
Right, well, and that's the same with Native Americans.
Well, real quick, I just want to, real quick, before, you can go after me, but I just want to piggyback off what you just said about creating history and stuff that never happened. That's Michelle Obama, when she was, during that speech, which is probably infamous at this point, where she says we have to change our culture. We have to change our history. That's one of the things she says, and that's one of the things they're doing. I mean, it is about changing history, and I'm not an expert on communist uprisings, but I think that's a part of it.
Oh, absolutely. Erasing history and rewriting history, and that's part of the pulling down the statues. That's part of simplifying even slavery. When they talk about what happened in the United States, they have this idea of it that has no reflection on what actually took place. The reality is not something they want to discuss.
Aaron, do you know the history of the native peoples of North America?
In terms of the violence or what?
Yes, in terms of the violence, in
Oh,
terms of
absolutely.
the
I grew
warring
up with
factions.
yeah, I grew up near the Iroquois Nation. And
Yes,
so
so you realize that these peoples were very diverse,
These
and
people.
these 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 peoples,
the Native
meaning that
American people.
they weren't one people, like how Europeans weren't one people. They were as diverse as Europeans were, and they hated each other in the same way that Europeans hated each other. And they had different societies and civilizations, and there were warring factions, and some people were hunters and gatherers, and some people were farmers, and it wasn't a monolith population. And to just label all of them as one would be the same, like saying you're Native American would be the same as saying you're European. It's more complicated than that. And it's like saying like Germans and French are the same, or like
Oh,
these people went to war for centuries. Like they're not the same people. And
I
to
love
say
that.
that,
Did you ever see that tweet? It was an Asian guy was tweeting at everybody about how all white people think all Asians are the same and they can't differentiate between Japanese and Korean and Chinese and Thai. And the white guy tweeted back and he goes, "Well, what do you mean white people? Do you mean Germanic or Scandinavian or like he basically was listing the idea of like, you think we're a monolith? Why are you so offended by the idea that we can't tell, or if we, actually can tell sometimes, it just depends. But the idea that like if you call people Asian, that's offensive, but if you call white people, well, that's okay.
right? Like the German and the French hate each other today. Like they don't get along. I mean,
the French hate everything
maybe.
So
the French hate everybody. They hate themselves most of all.
I do like the French to a certain extent. I do like them. I do like them.
No, frogs are stupid. All Euroports are, for the most part, are stupid.
They are a very literate society and very cultured society. So
Yes.
they're not like savages. They're very
No, they're just a bunch of communists.
And they have a lot of philosophers, and they're good people. So, but they're just, there are factions. So I'm just saying, like, Europeans aren't like one people.
There's something good and something bad in every culture. I guess that's the part I feel like the left, or just people in general, skate over. Every part of history, every people that ever were, there was something profoundly good and profoundly bad in it, including now. You can find something that you don't like and that you love about everybody. And that's that idea too, though. Sometimes, well, all cultures are equal. No, I don't buy into that either. If you practice female genital mutilation, if you still practice human slavery, if you practice caste systems, if you don't allow religious freedom, if you don't allow freedom of speech, I don't think I don't think you're good. I'm not saying you're bad people. I don't think that you're better than I am or just as good as I am. If you're doing bad things to people, if you're doing things that are systematically oppressive,
I'm better than you. I'm much better than you.
I am much better than you. And I'm gonna pull an Anna Kasparian. I am better than you. I am gonna say that. Not that I'm better, but like the idea that there are better ideas. If there aren't, then you do open the door for things like, well, China having people in concentration camps, well, that's just a different culture. No, it's not. It's wrong.
Yeah.
It's not something that should be tolerated. It's wrong.
There were literally 2 terrorist attacks from Antifa on ICE facilities in America due to the media and Democrats calling detention facilities concentration camps. Remember that?
Steve Scalise nearly died because they said that Republicans were killing people with their healthcare policies.
Yes, you're right. You're right. And why don't they talk about that?
Well, obviously, you know why they don't talk about that.
It's different
that
when
would
we do it.
That would mean self-incrimination. They can't do that. They have to just accuse the other side of doing that.
And when they do it, it's the idea is it's justified because they want other people. They want people to, on some level, they want them to keep doing it. And they want them to do it in the future. And you can't demonize it too much.
That's a sensational story. That's so sensational. That story. It's so sensational. It's amazing. It's a great story. The shooting of Steve Scalise and the Republicans at the Super Bowl. It's so sensational. It's amazing story, but no one reports on that.
No,
he was a Bernie bro, dude.
It was worse that people walked through the Capitol building and stayed inside the Velvet Rope. That was somehow worse. That was worse in their minds than somebody trying to murder Republicans playing softball.
Right. Do you realize how many people believe that was some sort of historic, a monumental event? That something so horrible happened? It's like, no, like nothing happened. An unarmed Trump supporter was murdered. That's the only thing that happened.
Yeah, and we still don't know who the fuck did it.
Well, and they're not going to let anything come of it either because
I thought they were all about unarmed police shootings.
Woman through a closed door.
Right, when there was no threat. There was clearly no threat. There was police all around her. Yeah. Like what the? That angers me. That just angers me.
Well, it should.
That angers me too.
Because it's treated completely different.
Police is that tragedy, but shooting an unarmed woman through a closed locked door is justified.
When you could just punch her or some less extreme measure of
or tell the officers who are on the same side of the door as her to deal with it.
Woman is getting she's breaking the window, pick her up, and then the cops that are surrounding her just grab her. Done.
It's actually
I thought her whiteness should have saved her. Why didn't her whiteness save her? I'm sorry.
Right.
That's a disgrace to our country that happened.
It is.
Remember, it was insurrection perpetrated by people that do not go to the grocery store without a gun, and yet there were no guns.
Yeah. I know that isn't it amazing that
but they had flagpoles, dude.
It was an unarmed insurrection.
Dude, somebody hit a riot cop with a flagpole, man. Come on.
Right.
Incited by a president who said we're going to peacefully march to the Capitol.
I like Dronetek. I like how you commented that. Well, I don't know if you necessarily did that. I've heard other commentary that it was mostly peaceful protests. I think that was Mark Dice, which is
well, that's true.
Why don't we use that narrative? It's mostly peaceful.
That's what I've been saying, dude.
So you know what? I will say there were a couple people in the media. It obviously was muted. There was a couple examples of a guy from maybe CBS or something saying it was mostly peaceful at the time. But that never became the media never defended these people or tried to defend the peaceful people. No, they tried to make it as harsh and crazy as they possibly could by lying about it constantly.
I'll never let that go.
I'll never let that go. They only want one message getting out.
I'll never let that go. That's such a stupid narrative and such a stupid message that it's mostly peaceful. It's so stupid.
Right.
But that's the idea of 2 + 2 doesn't have to equal 4. When you have a man with an AutoZone on fire behind him, as people are screaming and looting and burning shit, going, it's mostly peaceful. I remember there was a guy on CNN who was standing outside the autonomous zone talking about how peaceful it was, and he got full body tackled when he wasn't looking.
Right. Wow. There was a couple examples of that, but yeah, and don't you think it's odd? And I think there's a little bit of a gaslighting element to that, like you said, when he says that, he's standing in front of a burning building. They're doing it in your face to gaslight you. We're saying it's mostly peaceful if something's burning behind us. We know that. We're doing that to drive you crazy.
Eyes. Yeah, they want it. Yeah, they want you not to don't believe your eyes. Don't believe
it's just
what you're
propaganda.
Hearing.
That's all that it is. It's just propaganda.
Believe us, math is racist. Don't believe, nothing. There is no, because they don't want objective truth. They want the truth as they define it.
Yo,
Can erase reality.
Can I ask you some questions, please? I'm located in South Florida, and there have been some situations going on in South Beach with a big group of people that were mostly African American.
Yeah, I saw it.
And they are fucking shit up and
each other
dancing. Yeah,
raping and murdering too.
Raging down here. And here's the problem that they want to discuss. The police response is racist.
Yeah, of course.
And I'm like, what? How about the problem is that they're fucking shit up down here? Why is that?
They're just blowing off steam, man. They're just blowing off steam. They're just blowing off steam all black.
How that woman ended up raped and murdered in her hotel room.
Yeah, but she was white supremacist. I mean, don't you understand?
That's the part. Well, and the police can't win because if they don't do anything, they're failures and they didn't keep the public safe. If they do something, then they're racist. I mean, I don't see a win. I can't believe they even can retain police. Yeah, I don't know how. And I'm not saying police don't ever do anything wrong, because I saw a video today of police where I'm like, oh, that was totally murder. But you never heard about it because the guy they murdered was white.
Why don't they highlight the heroism of these people?
Well, why don't they highlight what would go wrong if the police didn't intervene? In the George Floyd case, he was driving an SUV high on multiple drugs. He could just as easily, they're like, well, why did they have to detain him over a counterfeit bill? If they did not detain him and he went out and ran down a family of 5, you'd have been pissed that they let him go.
Why'd they let him do that?
Yeah,
all the blame goes to them.
Jacob Blake, a rapist who was trying to kidnap children, who was armed, and they're like, why did they do this? Why didn't they just let him go? Well, if he'd driven off in a car full of other people's children that he was kidnapping with a weapon, I don't think you'd have been too happy with the police for letting that happen.
Yeah, you're talking about Jacob Blake? Yeah, and Jacob Blake is another example of the media jumping the gun, and then because everybody saw. I remember those pictures of the guy with Jacob Blake with a knife were out pretty early, like Redditors or something had gotten the screenshot of it. The media didn't give a shit. They just acted like, oh, he was just unfairly shot for no reason because he's black. And then, of course, we had riots. We had all the stuff with Kyle and all that stuff happen, and that's all due to the fucking media. Because if they'd have reported the facts, none of that would have happened.
And can you imagine being the woman he raped, who gets to see overpaid millionaire NFL players celebrate her rapist by putting his name on the back of their helmets? Yep. I mean, that scene was so. I feel
bad for
celebrating as a hero a man who raped her, and you think that is noble?
Yeah, I know, it's insane, and I feel bad for the people who don't know any better. It's like most people out there they just don't have enough time to know any better, and they just, like I said, they go the path of least resistance. They don't realize how they're being used to like prop up fucking most horrible people in our society.
They're ignoramuses, bro. That's all that
But the media and shit, they know better. So what the fuck is their excuse? Like,
they're doing it on purpose. I think it's
right. So they're fucking evil. They are the enemy of the people, and I'll say that all fucking day because they have caused death and destruction, millions of dollars, tens of lives, into the multiple dozens. Because of their fucking lies, the hands up, don't shoot bullshit.
It's more insidious than that. Because think about if you're like a young
I think they make money off of that.
They hold up as your hero somebody like George Floyd, a multiple felon, deadbeat dad who acted in some pornographic films, fought with police, did drugs, sold
drugs.
Took
a pregnant woman hostage at one other point.
With a gun.
Right.
And that's supposed to be your hero. And the thing that's disgusting about that is there are heroes for you. There are accomplished Black Americans who you could be looking up to.
Walter Williams, Thomas.
Because these people are not the norm. These people are not like that.
They're all sucking. Well, sucking up to the white man. The people you're talking about.
Yeah.
They want somebody that represents them. Right.
Aaron, you were so right. Everything that you're saying is so right.
Yeah, definitely. I wish we
well, of course, Owens is a white because she married a white man.
We have one of those black Americans, and usually she's here, but Skyward Journey, she's an officer in the Air Force. She's supremely accomplished, and there's plenty like her. When I was in the Air Force, I saw, that's what aggravates, I think, so many of us, is that we don't see. It's just like coronavirus too. We do not see the world that the media portrays. It's not what we see day to day, and what we live is not that.
Yes, you're right. Dronetek, you're completely
and that's all part of
that.
the whole. It's like this whole operation to just I don't know, brainwash half the country and gaslight the other half into insanity.
I think. Do you think that people are so stupid that they feed into it and they believe it?
Yeah,
or do you think
they
people
definitely
see
do.
beyond it?
Yeah, I have family members. I lost friends over the years. I have friends, but all my old friends and stuff, they're all gone. Most of my family hates me. It's crazy. It's just because they all think these horrible things about me. They think I'm a racist and all this kind of thing. I told you I used to be a DJ back in the day. I have old DJ friends that have contacted me. The second they found out about the channel, they're straight up told me I was a Nazi and stuff like that. And it's what? How could you possibly think that? But they do. And that's one of the things that kind of.
They're literally zombies, dude. I think they're brain dead for real.
It's me. I'm not like that. Why would you possibly think that? But they do. It's crazy.
I just feel bad for our country, man. I honestly think that something needs to change.
Nothing. It's got something. Guys, I hate to be a black pill on this, but this shit is not gonna get better. It's gonna get worse until there's a conflict. That's just the fact of the matter. We're not turning This is a careening train heading towards doom, and there's no way you can stop it. Seriously, there just isn't.
All right,
there's no conceivable way. I'm sorry.
All right, speculation wise, okay, for legal purposes, in Minecraft, right? What do you think would happen if, say, certain people that work for certain, I don't know, media agencies were just hung?
What?
Say what?
Are you talking about watering trees in Minecraft?
Watering the tree in Minecraft, exactly.
Then millions and millions of people would die globally, and it might be better than the alternative.
That's something people don't understand better than the alternative. When you talk about things like gun control, they're like, "It'd be perfect without guns." I'm like, yeah, I don't think you know what the alternative is like. Nobody can see the alternative. That sometimes the bad thing is not that bad if you look at the bigger picture.
You're right, Aaron. And the Second Amendment was not they didn't establish that right for hunting. It was to check the government. That's why that amendment was put in place. So the people need to be able to check the government, because if the government becomes unwieldy and wants to dominate us, the people should have a response to that.
I can tell you,
Angel and
that's not a radical idea.
So, Dronetek, question for you.
Yes.
Because there's some things I want to say, but it's your stream.
Yeah,
how much red is allowed?
Hey, I know. Well, real quick, I'll just say that you work with Don, the plebe, who runs a great channel, and you help him out, and you're welcome to say whatever you want. Go for it.
Okay, I will try not to Fed post too much, but quoting Thomas Jefferson can do that. From time to time, the tree of liberty needs to be watered with the blood of patriots and tyrants, and that is long overdue, in my opinion.
Here's the problem that I have with that, and I'm for it in the case that it actually needs to happen. But here's the thing, especially now, who would people fight? Who's the enemy? Like, how would that even look? And considering how they have full control of the media, the military, it looks like now at this point, probably the police departments, increasingly. I feel like that's what a lot of this defund police thing was. Given that they have control of everything, how can you possibly do anything, even protest, without them making you look like a horrible Nazi monster?
Here's the only way that it happens and the right has a fighting chance, is if large numbers of states start seceding. And Aaron Bell, as much as you would like the idea of a peaceful divorce will not happen. States start seceding, that is civil war. Just, it is. Even if there was a peaceful divorce, the first thing that they would do if they let all of the base right-wing states leave is they would start infiltrating and making them communist. That is the first thing that they would do.
They would try to disenfranchise the poor. You're right.
Bell's muted.
Divorce is inevitable.
It seems like it. I'm almost to the point where I'm like, let's split the country in half.
I was listening, and I don't disagree. I wasn't I wasn't ignoring him or angry.
I wasn't sure if you were here, Bell.
I'm not
angry.
I honestly, if we did do the peaceful divorce thing and it worked and they left us alone, I would be okay with that.
Yeah. I'm not arguing with you. I'm not going to pretend that I think. I would like to believe it's possible, and that may be my naivete. I'm not saying that I think it would. I'd like to think we could have a Brexit, which is not exactly, and it's still a mess.
Your reality.
Yeah, I would like to think that we could have a Brexit. I'm not saying that I think that that's actually how it would go, because if it was that easy last time, they wouldn't have fought for 5 years. They would have just said, okay, you go your way, we're going to go ours.
There. I don't know if you guys can still hear me.
Yeah, we can.
I can still hear you.
So the only way that the right will pick up arms in any significant way is if they have a semblance of legality to it. And the only way that that's going to happen is if states start seceding.
There we go.
We don't want to pick up arms.
Got it. I'm getting better at
this. I know some people have been exploring the third. Is it would it be the third or the second Continental Congress where?
Third Continental Congress. Is doing that sort of stuff.
Yeah, 3CC. I mean, that would at least get people's attention. Certainly, if states started basically saying, you know what, you're not following the Constitution, you're not listening to us, and we don't trust you, so we're going to take some direct actions. That might set the stage for violence.
But the only way the right wing picks up arms en masse and has a fighting chance is if they have a semblance of legitimacy to it. And the only way that happens is with states seceding and leading the fight, which I think is still a very good possibility.
Oh, I think it's a distinct possibility, because, and I swear that's part of the reason they're trying to open the border, because they don't want Texas strong, and an easy way to get a weaker Texas is to flood it with a bunch of people who have no real loyalty, not only to Texas, but not really to this country.
Yeah, but
Texas starts deporting people on their own.
Karen is so smart. Her wisdom is so good. Go on.
Let me ask you. If this turns into a civil war, because we're already involved in a cold civil war, and if YouTube has a problem with me saying that, just look, the mainstream media has been saying it for a while, but we are in a cold civil war. It's going to turn into a hot one probably. But won't that end America as we know it? Do we really want that to happen? Because that's the end. That would be the end of our families.
Here's the thing. Yes, it probably would. Almost guaranteed it would.
So,
if we start a hot civil war, not only will tens of millions of Americans die, tens of millions or hundreds of millions of people across the globe will die. Because
isn't that what they want? Die, these people.
Well, if we're with people who could take advantage and attack us too, which would be
Yeah, I don't think that's
even
necessarily the
if they
case.
didn't take advantage and attack us, do you think that China wouldn't invade Taiwan immediately? Do you think that Russia
Oh
wouldn't
yeah, well we're
take
distracted.
over a
Everybody
few
else is screwed.
Oh, for
few
sure.
former
They would
Soviet
take
bloc
advantage
countries?
on our country too. They'd probably militarily help the left. China would
Oh, they
sail
would.
in to help. They would, and they're
That's what
militarily
they-
used
that's what
against
I
us.
would be
But
afraid
they would provide arms to the left.
Yeah.
Do you think that the Third Boer War wouldn't kick off? Do you think there wouldn't be a half a dozen genocides in Africa? Honestly, do you think that Europe wouldn't break
So
out
we
into?
don't want that to happen then.
At the same time, we can't be world police and the world's doormat. And
Yeah, but
Yes.
I
Yes.
just,
So, Drone, here's the question.
there's got to be a better way. Like I don't know what it is, but there's got to
better
be.
way is to submit, and then that's only a better
No.
way until you have.
We gotta get
something
creative.
left.
I don't know what to do, but we gotta get creative.
At some point, there will be two options: that what we just described, or everyone that is to the right of Mao gets lined up against a wall and shot or put in gulags.
Which could happen. They've floated drone bombing us on mainstream media sources. So yeah,
They
it
have.
could happen.
They have.
I've never
Um,
handled a gun, but I will get one.
Everybody should
I think
learn.
everybody should be getting guns. I
Yeah.
never thought
You
I would
should
own a gun
definitely
in my
learn.
life, and I have one. Yeah.
Yeah.
I just
They
built
should
another
make drones
AR. I've
out of
got several thousand rounds of ammo in the other room for exactly this sort of thing.
Learn to shoot. Learn to farm.
All right.
Learn learn the
I don't
things.
care.
Well, and learn the things that people in cities are completely incapable of doing, because those are the skills that will serve you well, no matter how the world falls apart, whether it's through
Right.
conflict or something else.
It just sucks we have to be so careful about what we say and stuff. And like, we're all good people. We're all good Americans. I'm a veteran myself. But yet,
That's what they. But I mean,
We
that's
can't
what
do
they
that.
take advantage of. You don't want. I don't want a civil war, but I also don't want them to strip me of every right and ruin this country and everything it stands for and shit all
Yeah.
over the Constitution
yeah.
because they are using my resistance to violence, my resistance to standing up for myself, my love of peace as a weapon against us.
Exactly. They use your values against you. Yeah. They do.
So
It's weird.
My,
Like we
opinion,
got trumped somehow. It happened.
my opinion on a civil war is the worst option that America has aside from communism.
Oh yeah.
All right,
Of
so
course.
can I introduce like a different subject? Which
Yeah.
Aaron,
Go for it.
Aaron, you teased this out for me, and I appreciate that. But we're talking about the Trinity, and I kind of want to hear what Ash has to say about that because I have a lot of questions about it, and convince me that I'm wrong, please. Ash, can you convince me that I'm wrong?
So I don't remember exactly what your stance was last night when we were talking in the text chat. But let's see. Could you just clarify what you believe?
Yes, okay, I'll clarify it for you. I am a little hesitant to believe in the Trinity because I think that possibly it's a creation of Catholicism and it doesn't make any sense to me, so I'd like to hear your
We're talking
rebuttal
about
to it.
Catholicism now.
What?
Can I just insert here? Richard just shifted gears like way.
Yeah.
went
Yeah,
Wow.
I
He
shifted
went
them.
from, like,
Very
fifth gear-
different.
He went from like fifth gear to reverse without any bridge.
Okay,
Because we were talking
so-
about religion the other night.
Yeah, well, it's a topic of interest of mine, and
That's cool.
I
All right.
like to understand the perspectives of people that I don't agree with, so I want to hear Ash.
Trees.
Yeah, I'm not
I
arguing
wanna
that.
hear-
I'm just saying you went from Civil War to the Holy Trinity, and I think you lost
Yeah.
a lot of people in that rather dramatic.
No, you're
shift.
good.
Richard, what's your religious background?
I'm non-denominational Christian, but I have questions and I want to hear answers, so that's why I want to
You
hear.
go to
what
church
Ash-
on Sunday, or are you
No,
are you a
no.
pious? Okay.
No,
I was
I-
raised
I-
Catholic.
I like-
I went to
I like-
Catholic school and I went to
Me too.
Catholic classes.
Did you altar boy?
CAD or whatever it was, CAD.
I love to hear the Catholic perspective on that
I'm
as
not
well.
Catholic though.
So I am a very strong Christian myself. I'm a non-denominational Protestant. I am. I would consider myself spirit-filled, charismatic. I very much do believe in the Trinity.
Why do you believe in that, though? Explain that to me, please.
Can you hear me okay?
So I'm going to have to start pulling up Bible Gateway and bringing up references as we're doing this, just to make sure I have things straight. Wish we had Bible Bot in the server, but
I just want to hear your ideas on it. That's the only
So-
reason
I think it's bullshit.
No,
So-
I just want to hear your ideas on it, and I'm open to them. So please explain them to me.
okay, so the Trinity is really very hard to explain and understand, partly because we can't really explain it and understand it fully. It is one of those natures. It's a part of the nature of God that we as humans can't really fully wrap our heads around.
I can agree with you on that.
So pretty much any explanation will be imperfect. I definitely do believe in the Trinity. There are a number of times where Jesus, the Son, refers to his Father as the Father. So just so we're all on the same page, everyone's on the same page. The Trinity, and for viewers as well, they might not know this. The Trinity is the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit.
Amen.
Does that make sense to you, though?
It does,
that
yes.
make sense to you?
So, the Father, the role of the Father is he is
not for long. Good, sorry.
He was talking to someone in chat.
You're good. Sorry, guys.
So
present
the
your
role of the
best
Father
argument.
is
Present
he
your
is
best argument, please. Just present your best argument.
okay. There are, for the existence of the Trinity.
Can I make a suggestion?
Sure.
This is a huge topic, and you totally sprung it on him. Could we
Yeah,
maybe have a different call-in, and Ash too could like prepare?
Yeah, let's do something else, and
I'm
you think
sorry.
about
I'm
that.
so sorry.
Maybe you can
I
answer
just
it
Like,
later.
I'm not trying to be unkind to you, because I get I know we were talking about this, but I don't think people know the
No, I think
background.
you're
of
right, Bill.
discussion. And it's also like I suggested at the time, talking about faith could easily be its own huge.
It is.
Well, and I think it would be a very fun chat to have. Like, I know sometimes you do like unexplained stuff, but I mean, faith is also like an unexplained thing. So
I respect your opinion on that, Aaron.
Yeah.
I respect your opinion on that.
It's just a lot to take on at the end of an already lengthy chat.
Any other ideas? Anybody else want to try? Oh, I just got shot in the face. Yeah. Any other ideas?
We hit a hard one, dude.
Do what?
We hit a hard one.
Yeah, that's a deep one that deserves its own stream.
Oh shit!
But...
Well, and I think people also need to reflect before they talk about faith. Yeah, there you go.
I'm happy to talk about it anytime. So if I'm free, I will be happy to hop in a stream about that. If you don't mind, I can also invite some other people that I know would be happy to talk about that sort of thing as well, and would be happy to talk about it.
I would love to listen to that.
Also, Richard, I noticed that you joined that other Discord server that I'm in. That is the sort of thing that is talked about all of the time in that Discord server. And
I'm willing and open to accept your arguments, and I am anticipating them, and I hope to be convinced, by the way.
Okay, I will be happy to talk about that on whatever stream.
We've hit almost all the topics tonight. I'm trying to think of something to talk about, like maybe get outside of politics into. Did you guys see where Mark Rubio? So on the topic of UFOs, which is one I've always loved, but Mark Rubio just came out, and there's a lot of things that have actually recently come out, but he said that there's a major problem right now because he acknowledged that there are craft, and this is something the DOJ might have just released, or maybe it was the Pentagon, that they fully admit now that there are craft that they're viewing all the time that don't get reported, whether it be by pilots or by satellites, that they're observing that are doing things that normal aircraft cannot do. They don't know where they come from. They don't know what they're doing, and they frequently fly over military bases, hover over military bases. Rubio was talking about that. He just put it out. He said it's very concerning because we don't know what they're doing. We have no idea where they're coming from. Dude, yeah, guys, this is disclosure. I mean, since I was a kid, this is what I've been waiting for. It's so funny.
I'm very excited for it too.
It's so funny. It's happening exactly like I thought it would. It's going to be like a firecracker. It's like nothing. Like everybody's like, yeah, we know, because we've been prepared for it.
About it too.
Right. And we've all been prepared for it since we were young. It's been ingrained into us that, probably there's aliens, and who knows what. My guess is the government does know what they are and where they're from, but we're getting to it. It's baby steps.
No way.
That's better than if they just show up and go, surprise! Like, if they lay it on us all at once, that could be problematic.
Yeah, I mean, they pretty much.
I swear they picked maximum distraction.
Yeah, I know.
Worried about Trump and Biden. And
yeah, but nobody cares.
What I don't understand.
Nobody
what I understand about the alien stuff is that why is there a civilization that's so more advanced than us?
What?
Huh?
Why? They would have to be way more advanced than us because they would have to be able to travel all the way there, all the way there.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, well, that's
obviously a robot.
Look, I'll tell you right now, the universe, there's probably aliens everywhere. We're probably basically at like some sort of a sanctuary or something. Who knows? Like, they're probably everywhere. They've been around for forever. Who knows? Like.
But that doesn't change anything. So say they actually say, okay, there's aliens. Like, you can't really do anything about it. Like, you can't.
Right.
Like, it doesn't change.
Exactly.
It doesn't fundamentally change your life. Like,
right.
You can't. You still got to get up.
Are aliens considered a minority or majority?
Depends on how many there are.
That's a good question. Good question, Aguado. I want to ask you a bunch of questions, and I want them answered immediately.
Maybe you need to have an alien stream now that more mainstream people are weighing in on it.
We lost some of our people. They just left.
Well, that's a big.
I think
the topics are
maybe
that's big.
Maybe there's aliens. Man, they're like, oh shoot, we're found out.
I don't think it's that. And Rubio was smart. He said, or it could be other things. Either way, we should figure out what it is.
Well, it's alien craft. I mean, or people from the future, or interdimensional, whatever you want to call it. It is something.
I agree with Dronetek.
Yeah, there has been an insurmountable evidence, pretty much, like for a long time, and now it's just like.
Can you tell me some evidence? Because I haven't heard of this evidence that you're saying.
Well, you're right. When it comes to hard evidence, it's lacking. But I will say that there's lots of circumstantial evidence. Like I will say, like that wood carving from the 1800s, showing like an air battle or some sort of like aircraft in the sky. Who knows what that was? But
I think those.
Are you sure it's aircraft? Because it could be literally anything else. It could be a airplane.
It was alien aircraft. You're right. Okay. You're right, but
I'm gonna call out
lines where they form pictures, but only if you're like way.
It could be someone's idea of what maybe aliens were back then. Maybe they just like maybe it was a kid who created it. So,
I'm gonna call out.
Here's my thing. That universe is massive. It's endless. We are essentially specks of sand, and just based on that, I have to believe that alien things are everywhere. They've been around for a long time. And if that's the case, then they're everywhere. Like we're
You are
latecomers.
100% correct, Dronetek. 100% correct.
That's pretty much my take. So I don't really necessarily need evidence. It just when
well,
you
but if they're advanced,
Well, if you believe in God, then
Akram's razor tells me that there's aliens.
Okay, how did they end up ahead of us though? Like that's the other thing too. Okay, so
Well,
random chance says there's somebody else out there.
No,
They're
it's
advanced
easy
enough
to
come
explain.
here.
That's easy to explain.
Okay. All right. Well,
Yeah.
what I'm saying is, okay, so somebody evolved faster than us, and they're further ahead than us. And they
Millions
came
of
all
years
the way
ahead of
here.
us.
In
Millions
which case,
and billions.
yeah, okay, so they're millions and millions.
Why
of years
wouldn't they
ahead of
be
us.
less than us?
Well,
Why wouldn't they be less than us? Or more
there's
than us?
probably many that are.
Or less.
Or maybe they just can't figure out space travel.
That also means
Hold
there's
on.
people who are less involved than us, or things that are less involved than us. Okay, so fine, they come here. If they made it all the way here, they own our asses. They're way more advanced than we could ever be. There's nothing we can do except basically try to be nice.
Why
to them.
haven't they
That's why I said
conquered
we're on. That's why I said we're basically on a conservatory kind of a thing. We are animals essentially.
Oh my God, we're the zoo.
Yeah, until we get a little bit more advanced, but we're getting there. We're getting there.
We're that South Park reality show. Oh man.
We are though.
Why is that such
we were probably put here. We were probably seated here.
Yeah,
why
we
is
talked
that?
about that the other night too.
There were probably
Yes, by God.
more advanced life forms that rose and
Just
fell.
talking about
on this
religion, and that's how you
planet.
explain it. By God, we were put here by God.
Well, God or the squids, you don't know.
Right, but God is anything that's so more advanced than we can explain. Like rationally.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Or there's other dimensions. There's also the possibility of other dimensions, in which case God could be.
There's not. It's not a possibility. It's
That's
guaranteed.
my belief.
Well, if you believe in the Bible and all that, that completely wrecks itself because it says I'm the only one God. There's only this world, and that's it. So.
No, well, it is.
The
Bible is a human written thing.
I don't want to say if I'm Christian or not, or maybe something else, but that's what I've read.
Something to it. I think there is something to the Bible. I think there's something that is legitimate about the Bible, but I don't think that you should just be like, oh, well, I read this part in the Bible, and so thus it, because it's really. Have you ever read Chariots of Fire? I think that's what it's called, but it really. Chariots of the Gods. Is that what it is?
Dronetek, you are very smart, dude. Like 100%. You are very intelligent. Just
thanks, man. I appreciate it.
Reminding you, I'm just saying, but it needs to be said, you are very intelligent.
Well, I'm just saying that there's a lot of ways you can interpret the Bible, and I think there is definitely something to it. Something that has lasted that long, there's something to it. But I think it's human attempt to understand something that's really hard to understand, really hard to grasp. You know what I mean? And so I think it has value because it helps us to kind of get there. But I think at some point it will outlive its usefulness. Maybe it's even something bad. Have you ever seen that Star Trek episode where the aliens come or where the humans come and they leave that book at the hotel? Or I forget exactly how it goes, but the whole civilization's built around this book. And I think that's a good way to look at it.
Like that. There's one Star Trek where they go to the planet and it's all perfect. And they find out that planet, which is kind of a lot like Earth except nicer, was like an alien experiment, and that the gods are just basically hovered in a spaceship outside the planet, like watching them,
that one too.
Like voyeur god.
Yeah, that's Next Generation.
That would creep me out though.
Yeah, but there's
a
one
lot
where
of things like that.
I guess my point is I don't like when people are like, oh, well, the Bible says this, and so I'm going to think this way. Come on, like, use your brain and realize that this is something that's been rewritten over thousands of years.
When's it been rewritten? When?
Well, how did it get passed down? How did it get passed down?
Every generation.
From generation passed down. Never been changed.
It's been
I know this.
It's been changed.
Well, you say never been changed, but there's no way I can possibly believe that.
It's never been changed. Has it ever been changed?
Yes, it has been changed.
I would love to know.
There are New and Old Testament, and there's just on that basis. Come on, man.
Let him say what he has to say. What do you have to say? What do you have to say? Say it. Have there been no changes at all?
I think
not that I know of.
Well, of course there have been, man.
I
Like,
love the changes.
well, it's hard to know. Like, we're coming into it as human beings that have come thousands of years after it was originally written, and it was pieced together. And it's been re-pieced together because there was, the original Testament, and then we discovered new parts of it and added to it. And didn't they just discover new Dead Sea Scrolls or something? Like brand new ones?
The Dead Sea Scrolls. They constantly. Well, I mean, I go back to it's clearly been interpreted and changed, or there would be multiple versions in multiple languages.
Right.
Things are lost in translation. Look, parts have been removed and redacted, and this. Well,
yes.
and it's nothing special.
Well, things are lost in translation, but there's always.
It's nothing. It's also been changed because they find and they.
Look, I'm not against the Bible, so I don't know why
yeah.
we're like.
Well, I think there's nothing wrong with that. To the Bible in terms of other texts have the same issue. They find periodically previous versions of the Quran, and boy, let me tell you, Muslims do not like when you bring that stuff up because I know that they go a little, they get a little nutty about it.
Yeah, we're watching that right now.
Yeah, but you should actually be willing to embrace it and like, what's up, what's new. These are new texts. Can we examine them? What's going on? That's
Living Legend 2, yes, Chariots of the Gods by Eric Van Daniken. Thank you. Sorry.
Yeah, somebody on your server recommended that book to me.
I read that book in high school and it really changed. It really changed my whole perspective on everything when I was in high school.
Yo, Dronetek, you know what changed my whole perspective on life in high school was Adam Smith's book, The Capitalism of the World, or The World's Capitalism.
Really?
And then
I haven't read that.
Yeah, man, check it out. Adam Smith. Capitalism
Schmitz?
of the World. Adam Smith.
Okay.
Smith.
Yeah, I got it.
He's a Scottish guy, and it's like the premier book on capitalism, and it just basically explains like economics is natural, like nature and economics are the same, and like it really opened my eyes to everything, and I think you should take a look at it, explore it.
Yeah.
I know Aaron has read it.
No, I read Thomas Sowell's books on economics, and I have to read because he updates them constantly.
Well,
but no, I have not read that.
I will say that I love capitalism purely because it encourages. Well, first of all, you need freedom for capitalism, and second of all, it just empowers the individual, and it encourages people to innovate. It's like everything good that rises from society. At this point, I feel like it's just been capitalism. You can thank that.
And the biggest problem is they want to get rid of capitalism because they hate freedom.
Right. Well,
because it's harder to control people in that system.
Exactly. You cannot control people. We're very uncontrollable as capitalists. Yeah. We're thorns in their side like none other. Really.
I'm just going to say a little naughty secret that I have, which is that I don't think I'm not.
What do you guys?
I don't believe in democracy, dude. I think aristocracy is probably the better way.
No.
Because I think. Do you disagree with that?
I like democracy.
I like the republic idea. I see problems with direct democracy, and I see problems with disenfranchising people.
I think we pretty much got it right. Representative republic.
People are ignorant. I'm not going to pretend they're not, but we're not that stupid, and I think that's how Trump got elected. We're good at correcting. I think that's. I also think that's why
you guys want to the definition of democracy?
If you have a democracy, you have to have the educated population. If you don't have an educated population, your democracy is
depends how the population is educated. Clearly, they're educating to their system now, and
that's the problem with the left. They educate. They educate the people into believing one thing instead of being free thinkers. Because of this, it creates problems with democracy.
Well, but it's not always like that. I mean, that's the idea of the problem with public education.
I wish it wasn't like that right now, but it is.
Yeah. Well, but that's not a problem with democracy per se. That's a problem
That's a problem with the left.
Do you see errant? And I'm asking you this specifically because I know you're very well versed and knowledgeable about this. Do you recognize that those who can vote in a democracy are easily swayed by opportunists and people who take advantage of those who are ignorant?
Before you answer that, can I say something about democracy? If we didn't have a democracy, it would be very easy for a dictatorship to happen.
I think
democracy does it makes everybody have some type of influence. If you have socialism or communism or something something like that, where it's more based off of the government, it creates a place where you can have a
the way I think of trial by jury. It is an imperfect system, but it is the best system that we have found so far, because democracy allows for correction that no other system does. And I think that's why the last election was not legitimate. I think they knew the people were on to them and waking up and ready and eager and willing to reelect Trump. Like, not enough people had bought into what they were selling to elect Biden, so they just cheated. And that's what scares me, is if they cheat and get away with it, democracy dies and we're all pretty screwed. I'm not saying that I don't think there's validity to what you're saying. It's true. There are a lot of people who are tired, they're distracted, and some of them are just plain old dumb, and those people are easily manipulated.
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
That is probably, but I think they're not as stupid and easily manipulated as you think. They wake up. And when they wake up, you get things like everybody told them to vote for Hillary. Everybody said Trump was a joke. Every institution was discounting him and backing her, and she still lost, because sometimes, even then, though we can be stupid, we're not as stupid as they need us to be. And I think they do try to I think they do try to keep us dumb. I think they do try to manipulate us. I think they do try to control us. And I think part of trying to switch away from democracy and cheating in elections is part of the idea of we are not always easy to control, and they need a stupider and more malleable. And that is what I think we're seeing now.
By the way,
should be some sort of litmus test for voting. If you can't name the capital of your state, then you should not vote.
Okay, Richard, can I talk? Can I talk for a second? Richard, who would vote then?
The people that are knowledgeable, that know what their capital city is.
Okay. What about the millionaires who are very knowledgeable, but they're also corrupt?
But they only the idea of a democracy is they should only get one vote. I mean, I'm not saying you're wrong. And I remember distinctly when Barack Obama ran, a sweet little black woman who'd never voted before in her life was standing behind me, and she was terrified because she had never voted and she had no understanding of what was going on, and her only reason for being there was this is a direct quote, "I just am here to vote for the black guy." And she didn't know if she had to vote for other people or if she could skip voting for other people, and she was just there because
the education system is very important.
Well, and she was stressed out. And she was legally entitled to vote. She had to be at least in her 50s, I would say, maybe even older. And I would say there were some challenges to her hygiene, but she was sweet. She was she wasn't a bad person. She just had never tried to vote before, and she was excited because she was there to vote for him, but she was terrified because it was a completely overwhelming experience. She'd never done it before. She didn't know about any other candidates. She was worried she was going to have to vote on everything when she had clearly no idea, no desire to vote on anything else.
But Richard, Richard,
she shouldn't be voting.
In your society, how would you base intelligence off of? How would you base intelligence?
You have to have a certain requisite level of knowledge to vote.
But a lot of people who are dumb have some great IQs. So
and they're
I don't know about
susceptible.
that.
They're susceptible.
There's some dumb or bad people out there that have great IQs. So you can't really tell it by someone's IQ. You can't really tell it by that.
You know, I think you have a very valid point. I don't know what the workaround is, because I don't know that just saying
There is